The thousand-year Lion King became suddenly stronger through self-discipline. Not afraid of zombies with high martial arts skills, but afraid of zombies with brains. With his intelligence, he had long moved beyond the low taste of devouring humans. He dreamed of building a harmonious new world for humans and zombies. Because human little sisters are so cute, why would anyone want to eat them? To show friendliness to humans, Master Brother transformed into a lay foam. The good deeds he performed couldn't be recounted in 10 days and nights. Unfortunately, he only left affection everywhere without leaving his name. Even human paparazzi couldn't figure out his true identity. Humans never grasped his goodwill. But when he was first infected and turned into a zombie, he saw many citizens suffering inhumane treatment from humans. Some were turned into lamp oil, others into renewable eternal generators. Only through change could he survive. He began practicing self-discipline, running 10 kilometers every day, doing 100 push-ups and sit-ups, drinking 100 cups of protein powder and 10,000 sips, and at night, dancing the square dance with Coach Liu. Finally, one day, he went bald and became stronger. He became the king among zombies, revered by all, leading 6 SSS-tier zombie generals, countless blind followers. With great power comes great responsibility. As an intelligent zombie, he constantly pondered the future of zombies. He eventually realized that being accepted by humans was the only way out. So, on one hand, he followed laws and acted civilized, sleeping early and waking up early for good health, brushing his teeth morning and night diligently. He perfectly blended into human society. On the other hand, he transformed into a lay foam, helping wherever there was need. He single-handedly stopped a runaway train at high speed, showing off, whether it was the train or his face that scared people silly. A plane was about to crash on the field, and he saved it. Thousands of humans on the plane and field wore fireproof jackets as he leapt into the rescuing trapped human children. His glorious deeds were published in newspapers, becoming a topic of fascination. Meanwhile, he kept his group away from human habitats, suppressing the bloodthirsty urges of his zombie generals. To avoid conflicts with humans, he ordered his group to eat chickens instead of human flesh, requiring a truckload of chickens to be purchased daily. Then, carrying the truck, he leapt, bringing supplies to space for a stroll, returning to his territory only when night fell, to avoid human attention. The survival issues of his group wore out his long-defunct heart. But everything seemed to have little effect. Humans always believed he was just a masked human hero. Paparazzi followed him 24 hours a day, just to reveal the face beneath the mask. A certain underground villainous organization, for some unspeakable secret, used human civilians as bait to lure zombies, then activated an indescribable experimental device, causing the zombies to mutate. The mutated zombies became violent and highly aggressive, drawing the attention of military forces. They immediately deployed ground troops to attack the citizens, then sent out super warriors to deal with the mutated zombies. Finally, they even used time bombs, determined to wipe out the zombies completely under triple command. Human machine gun units fired wildly at the zombies, forcing the blind ones to retreat. He chose to shield them with his body from a storm of bullets. Of course, attacks of this level were mere scratches to the toughened him. Meanwhile, after receiving orders on the human warrior street, a suicide dive from 10,000 meters high headed straight for the target. The mutated zombies, venting their misplaced rage, casually lifted a bus and hurled it at the human troops. It looked like they'd turn into meat paste for the zombies to snack on, but it didn't happen. With a swoosh, the bus was sliced into 2 smooth halves. The mutated zombie seemed to sense danger, roaring before lunging at the warrior. With a thud, the mutated zombie died again, leaving behind the human warrior's cool silhouette. Hearing the mutated zombies falter, he arrived at the scene of their pained roars before death, looking at the remains of blind number 99 on the ground, standing silently, lost in thought. At that moment, the human warrior attacked him indiscriminately, charging forward. If a zombie doesn't show its power, do you really think it's a mannequin? No one saw what happened clearly. The human warrior floated away with the wind, a 1.9 meter tall tough guy, then ended up hanging on a telephone pole. The troop's commander, wielding dual blades. Little sister couldn't stand it anymore. Since brute force didn't work, she'd try a softer approach. A beautiful triple-fold leap from the sky. Obviously, 100 times better than the straightforward. Little sister jumped from 10,000 meters high, carrying the force of thunder, striking the most comfortable pose. A flash of sword light, a single white blade slash. With a bang, the sword shattered on impact. This thing is really tough. Little sister was stunned, then gracefully backflipped to create distance, leaving Master Brother standing there, bewildered, thinking to himself, do humans always draw their swords without a word? Little sister finally had a moment to size up Master Brother. What a weird-looking thing. In that case, I'll use the blade blessed by the new master last time. Her grip on the hilt fully revealed little sister's seasoned expertise. She switched to a new stance, lunging at Master Brother once more in her prime. Master Brother effortlessly handled little sister, leaving her panting and flustered, her face flushed with embarrassment. Her proud self couldn't bear such humiliation. Her emotions peaked instantly, unleashing her ultimate move. Crimson Blade Fawn, Red Blade in, White Blade out, instantly leveling everything within a kilometer. Mom was right. Women from the mountains are tigers. It's true. Too terrifying. A good zombie doesn't fight humans, let alone a little sister. He dodged her slash, and Master Brother, weary of the fight, considered retiring. With a flap of his wings, he prepared to flee. Little sister cursed loudly from behind. Master Brother glanced back, thinking, if only she didn't have a mouth, I'd consider marrying a mute bride. Little sister, unable to catch up, fumed in frustration. Forget the saying, a girl chasing a guy is easy. She then struck her third pose of the day, her leg tech activating instantly with a burst of energy. A blast of air shot out, building up for an explosion. With a boom, little sister erupted like a volcano below, leaving a streak of light in the void. In that instant, Master Brother was below, little sister above. She struck with sudden force. Smack, smack, smack. Master Brother hit the ground like a ball, looking utterly exhausted, his life or death unknown. He was careless and didn't dodge. Little sister now wore a relieved expression, ready to sheath her sword. Everything went unexpectedly smoothly. Little sister finished and called it a day, thinking to herself, no need for the nuclear bomb backup now. But if nothing goes wrong, something's bound to happen. There was a traitor within the organization. This mole, under orders from a villain, pressed the red button amid the crew's confusion. A traitor pressed the red button. With a shattering sound, a black bomb dropped from the command ship. The veteran actor, the nuclear bomb, made a forced appearance. The crew, having subdued the traitor, hurriedly reported the situation to Little Sister. Little Sister froze in shock. The power of a nuclear bomb needed no explanation. Once it detonated, staying on the ground meant certain death. Only returning to the command ship offered a chance of survival. In her thoughts, Little Sister hurriedly activated her legs. But after the intense battle, her legs wouldn't respond. In a panic, she collapsed to the ground to check, realizing the battery was unreliable. It had run out of power, failing at the critical moment. This was a tough spot for the battery marketing team. Was this product placement worth the money or not? Hard to say. At that moment, Master Brother was still stuck in the dirt, originally planning to quietly play dead, hoping to get by unnoticed. But reality didn't allow him to keep pretending. As the nuclear bomb plummeted, the situation growing dire, Little Sister's brain was spinning so fast it nearly smoked, but she couldn't think of a way out. Suddenly, a strange sensation filled the air, and turning her head, a bald face met a ghostly one. Their eyes locked, so close she could hear his breath. A hint of romance sparked in the air. Before Little Sister could react, Master Brother perfectly grabbed her clothes. Wow, Master Brother's technique is pro-level. Amid Little Sister's shy expression, a passionate Latin dance duet began, under Master Brother's lead. Little Sister started with a high-difficulty 720-degree spin, followed by Master Brother lifting her high, Little Sister soaring like a swan into the air, then landing lightly on the ship with a thud. Lost in the elegance of the dance, Little Sister slowly came to her senses, calling out Master Brother with a touch of distraction, a bit of daze, and a hint of worry. Though not much. At that moment, Master Brother stood with hands in pockets, staring solemnly at the sky. He'd really wanted to touch Little Sister's heart. Why do I treat humans like my first love, yet they torment me 1,000 times? He took a deep breath, raised his right foot, a serious leap cracking the ground beneath him. Enveloped in a forgiving green glow, he shot skyward, this righteous light illuminating the earth. Master Brother was truly a soft-hearted god. Now, Master Brother curled his fingers slightly. In the astonished gazes of all, he caught the nuclear bomb midair with brute force. The bomb detonated in midair, its shockwave shaking the command ship 10,000 meters above. The crew on board struggled to stand steady. Little Sister stared at the explosion zone, filled with lingering fear, lost in unknown thoughts. Residual flames scorched the ground below, and after a while, the smoke cleared, revealing that bold and strong green silhouette, truly slim in clothes, muscular without, a real hunk. On a certain island, a bald head and high-tech duo became master and apprentice, a tale fondly remembered. And what sparks would fly between bald Master Brother and high-tech Little Sister, once too ugly to glance at. Now she'd ride him home. Little Sister must have fallen for Master Brother's 81-pack green abs. Master Brother only dreamed of building a human zombie, new era together. While Little Sister wanted to create a new human zombie species, she tormented Master Brother 1,000 times. Yet he still treated her like his first love. After gently sending Little Sister onto the ship, Master Brother stayed behind to bear it all alone. After the earth-shaking explosion, outside, an assistant resembling Nobita reported to the higher-ups in the organization. An unknown creature is scratching in the blast zone. The terrified superior quickly ordered an urgent retreat. There's always tomorrow. No need to risk the unknown just to provoke Little Sister. Meanwhile, Little Sister sat on the ship, head lowered, silent. She'd fought zombies her whole life, yet now a zombie had saved her. That deep gaze in a moment of crisis stirred a ripple in her proud heart. If only he weren't a zombie, Little Sister thought regretfully. Truly, when you want to sleep, someone hands you a pillow. At that moment, the assistant reported to the Mongolian Little Sister, who never watched the news. Master Brother isn't a zombie. He's the masked superhero who's been spreading love everywhere lately. This assist from the assistant deserves full marks. Little Sister's heart was instantly flooded with mixed emotions. Her cracked tablet betrayed her excitement. Little Sister must have been regretting being so close face-to-face back then, wondering if her makeup had smudged. Meanwhile, Master Brother, disheveled, walked down the street, drawing exaggerated expressions from veteran actor passers-by. Master Brother, the newcomer actor, hurriedly contacted his subordinates. Learning that the main force had safely retreated, he set his mind at ease, then calmly returned to his human residence. Just as he was about to enter, a sudden chill hit his backside. A male creature's seventh sense made him glance at the surveillance camera. It turned out Little Sister's assistant had locked onto Master Brother through the camera. At that moment, Little Sister's face darkened and scathed after facing a nuclear bomb head-on. Little Sister's heart was half thrilled, half terrified. The fierce battle had just ended, and Master Brother, used to big scenes, started lifting weights again, releasing his boundless energy. Thinking he'd soon see his fellow actors, he felt great. With a crash, a striking figure burst through the door, scaring Master Brother's soul out of his body a second time. Little Sister towered over him, looking down at Master Brother, sprawled on the floor. With a flash, she pulled out an official document, boldly declaring, "From now on, you're mine." With a flick of her small hand, Chaizong, Little Sister commanded her subordinates with undeniable authority, exuding a commanding presence. Master Brother, with no will to resist, was hoisted up by the group, then shoved into a tank, utterly confused. At that moment, a pink-haired girl nearby smirked, reporting to Little Sister, "There's no spare housing in the organization. Where should we put Master Brother?" Women truly understand women. Little Sister, smitten with her dreamy boyfriend, didn't hesitate. "He'll live with me first." Little Sister, seemingly in love, radiated a beauty marked by a lack of restraint. The overwhelming pressure crashed onto Master Brother. Shock. A lone man and woman, disheveled, sharing a room. Little Sister, the proud Sundara, revealed the tragic secret in her heart. Good zombies, bad humans. To be or not to be, that is the problem. Speaking of which, Master Brother had just finished playing. Little Sister had just gone nuclear, and post-battle, he was lifting weights again, insatiable. Everything was seen by Little Sister through the surveillance. Learning Master Brother was human, she developed a fondness for his talent, believing he was absolutely moldable material. Without a second word, she had her subordinates whisk Master Brother away. Meanwhile, men in black swiftly tossed Master Brother's luggage out. After a slow, story-filled life ahead, they retreated from the room for good. These perceptive subordinates had already seen through Master Brother's delicate frame. Inside the room, Master Brother knelt on the floor, dazed. This pose just shy of a washboard to complete the scene. Little Sister sat in front, arms crossed, big eyes staring into small ones. The atmosphere growing intensely eerie. "We having class here. Where's the bed?" Master Brother turned into a seasoned driver, breaking the awkward silence first. Little Sister gave him a leisurely glance. "Why think of sleeping in broad daylight?" Master Brother, who defied heavens, earth, and nukes, always feared humans most, and now Little Sister's terrifying expression made him stammer in panic. He hurriedly stepped forward, mentally roasting the situation. What happened to the shameless cohabitation I was promised? At that moment, Little Sister fiddled with her legs, which had nearly caused disaster, and with a clack, the ghost step tech was removed. In Master Brother's shocked gaze, Little Sister's severed legs were revealed. The mood instantly grew heavy. It seemed like an apology for her earlier impulsive attacks, or perhaps gratitude for Master Brother's selfless help. Little Sister began explaining as she recalled. When Little Sister was still a Little Sister, a zombie outbreak hit the village. Her parents were unfortunately infected and turned into zombies. In the chaos, they bit her legs. To survive, Little Sister not only chopped off her own legs, but also took down her zombified parents. Losing both her legs and her parents, she grew to deeply hate zombies, vowing to kill everyone she saw. Hearing the earlier part, Master Brother initially wanted to comfort Little Sister, saying he had a cousin in Wonzhou running a bathhouse, whose apprentice had an even more tragic story. Everything but his head was tech, so she shouldn't feel too sad. But hearing her final words, and seeing her chilling expression, Master Brother hurriedly swallowed his words back down. Little Sister stared suspiciously at the hesitant Master Brother, making him feel a shiver down his spine. In a flash of wit, he quickly changed the subject. "Earlier, I heard Little Sister mention something about classes, something about a non-human academy?" Little Sister then explained. "It's been over 1,000 years since the zombie outbreak. To preserve human civilization, this academy was founded, specifically, to train people to deal with zombies. Over the years, it's produced all sorts of zombie handling talent. This time, seeing Master Brother's skills, I pulled some strings to get him in." Master Brother, reflecting he's already a 1,000-year-old teacher, suddenly jolted. "Let me handle it myself. Can I really do it?" He started looking for a chance to slip away, but Little Sister, as if anticipating this, added, "If you register and don't show up, you'll face a deep investigation from the organization. Just don't let them uncover any weird fetishes." Master Brother, a walking bundle of secrets, had to abandon the idea. Little Sister wheeled away in her chair, calling from a distance, "Tomorrow, Xiao will take Master Brother to report. That's the pink-haired lowly who's gentle and easy to push over." The pink-haired lowly girl, Little Sister Naylan's main storyline comes to a temporary halt as the pink-haired lowly subplot is about to begin. While others struggle to survive among zombies, this zombie is scraping by among superhumans, non-human zombies, and non-human humans. Zombie Edition Mulan officially premieres this school season. Speaking of which, Little Sister saw Master Brother's skills, pulled strings, and got him into the non-human academy for further training, appointing the pink-haired lowly Xiao Xiao to accompany him to report. Early the next day, Master Brother arrived at the academy gates, staring at the entrance, lost in thought. Meanwhile, Xiao Xiao cheerfully greeted Master Brother, acting overly familiar. Hearing someone speak, Master Brother turned, with a blank "Who are you?" expression, low on damage, high on insult. It annoyed Xiao Xiao to no end. We rode in the same tank just days ago. Master Brother, nearly crashing the CPU, finally remembered, gesturing as he said, "The girl in my memory was about this tiny, right?" This move, in broad daylight, left Xiao Xiao speechless. After multiple critical hits from Master Brother, Xiao Xiao started frantically self-hypnotizing. He's an idiot. He's an idiot. I won't stoop to his level. Then she huffed and stormed off, calling from afar for Master Brother to enter for the exam. Now it was Master Brother's turn to be speechless. Even with a backdoor entry, I still have to take a test? Seizing her chance, Xiao Xiao shot back. What school doesn't have exams? 1 week of skill training, then the test. To pass, every score must beat world records. For example, the world 100-meter record here, 9.57 seconds, is the passing mark. Master Brother suddenly realized. So non-humans are basically superhumans. No wonder it's called the Non-Human Academy. Only superhumans would come up with that name. Today was the official freshman registration day. At that moment, the academy's field was packed with a bustling crowd. Xiao Xiao sat on Master Brother's shoulders, looking around, since she wasn't tall, relying on Master Brother to make up for it. Master Brother, sweating coldly, was glad he wore a cap. Without a mask, he'd surely be exposed. Lost in thought, Master Brother muttered softly, "I once stopped a train single-handedly and shouldered a plane. I've crossed smoke and fire, been featured in papers. Doesn't that exempt me from the test?" Xiao Xiao, hearing this, gave him a give it up look, saying, "Everyone here is a prodigy. Shouldering planes is routine, and no one here reads the news. Nobody will recognize Master Brother." At that moment, a man stepped onto the stage. One eye, one horn, clearly a man with a story. He was this time's examiner, President Chun of the Li Yu Society. Clearing his throat, President Chun began his speech. As he rambled on excitedly, a faint question rose from the crowd. Master Brother's timid voice. What if a zombie sneaks into this school? What then? Obviously, chop it into pieces and hang its head at the gate as a warning. President Chun replied without hesitation. Then perform castration. Seeing Master Brother freeze, President Chun added with a meaningful tone, "Castration, you know, means cutting off this part." Such icy words from a 37-degree mouth made Master Brother feel a chill in his groin and a twitch in his rear. Looks like he'd have to keep a low profile from now on. The speech ended. First up was the 100-meter test. At the sound of the starting gun, everyone blasted off. A redhead took the lead, full throttle, kicking up thick smoke as he ran. That exhaust was definitely over the limit. No surprise, 100 meters in 3 seconds, pass. Redhead was a real 3-second man. How many bolts did he eat to pull off that score? Just a casual test, and everyone's intensity left Master Brother dumbfounded. Next was the shooting test. As the saying goes, good aim eats zombies. Bad aim, zombies eat you. Xiao Xiao gripped a Desert Eagle, a black belt gun maniac in action, flipping the gun with flare while flashing a peace sign. Bullets whistled toward the targets, tracing beautiful arcs in the air, hitting every mark perfectly. Xiao Xiao passed the shooting test, taking off her blindfold. She wore a proud, smug grin. In contrast, Master Brother stared solemnly at the gun in his hand. Lifting weights? He's a pro. Shooting? He had 0 experience. You really had to worry for him. A zombie learning to fight zombies. If his identity as a zombie got out, he'd face the pain of castration. To avoid standing out, he had to control his strength. Every test score was just barely above the passing line. Others needed 3 seconds for 100 meters. He did 3.01. Others threw the shot, put 80 meters. He threw 80.01. But even with such restraint, he still caught the examiner's eye, because President Chun Xiling said his strength was great, yet every score just scraped by the passing mark. Could he be intentionally holding back? Or is there something else at play? Soon came the javelin throw. A man hurled the javelin with all his might, the spear rocketing out like a cannonball. In the next second, it pierced straight through a straw dummy, its sheer force skewering several dummies like candied hawthorns, blasting out of the test area, flying 32 kilometers, before embedding in a road sign. It finally stopped. Seeing this, the zombie felt a chill down below. The next up for the test was the zombie himself. As he passed by Redhead, Redhead shot him a disdainful glance. The zombie ignored Redhead, stepping forward to pick up the javelin for his test. But just then, Examiner Chen Chun halted the zombie. In an instant, all eyes turned toward him. At this moment, Chun Chen stepped forward and asked, calling out to the zombie, "Right. I heard from Xiling that you're very strong, but your scores are just barely passing. Are you serious, or are you deliberately messing with me?" The zombie flinched, startled by his words. Then Chun Chen added, "Everyone here wants to unleash their full strength, to show it all, but you're holding back timidly. Could it be you're a zombie?" The zombie panicked completely at this. He waved his hands frantically, explaining he was human. "If that's the case, then show your full strength. If you can throw it 3 kilometers, you'll pass in my book. If not, you're deceiving us. And I'll send you to castration as a spy." The zombie was utterly dumbfounded. Ever since becoming a zombie, he'd lived every day hiding, and though he couldn't remember much now, those who used to chase him everywhere were probably from this school. To avoid being captured by humans and turned into a zombie-powered perpetual motion machine, he had to race sharks every day to survive. So the zombie thought to himself, "I'll throw it as far as I can." With that, he raised the javelin in his hand. As a red glow flashed in his eyes, he hurled the javelin with all his might. In that instant, the entire test field cracked under his foot, and the accompanying blew the other examinees into the air. Even President Shin couldn't help blurting out, "Holy crap!" The javelin the zombie threw soared into space. With a puff, it pierced straight through a satellite, chilling it to the core, and the javelin showed no sign of stopping. It headed straight for the moon. The next second, it punched a massive hole through the moon. Space asteroids witnessing this broke out in cold sweats, fearing they'd be next. Even President Chun was floored by his feat, utterly impressed. At that moment, Xiao ran over and asked, "How far did you just throw that?" The zombie said he didn't know, just that he threw it into the sky. Then, holding his passing certificate, he asked if he could go home. Xiao was momentarily stunned. "Are you kidding? You're going to be the next president." Take Xiling, for example. He can command an entire army, use tanks, planes, and artillery at will, even has access to nuclear weapons. He also governs a megacity of tens of millions, where even the mayor is just a tool he uses to manage the citizens. But the zombie wasn't interested in any of that. He had his own city to run. Then, Xiao took the zombie to the Biotech Society, a place where students research weapons. Just then, the zombie noticed a group photo on the table. Xiao explained, "That's Dr. Jiaming, the former He was expelled and wanted by the Academy for conducting perverse illegal bioresearch, and the Academy even issued a shoot-on-sight order." Before the zombie could think more, a woman's voice interrupted. The acting biotech president said, "Take a look. What kind of gear do you need?" As soon as she spoke, Xiao's eyes lit up, excitedly saying, "I need gear that can carry more weapons on me. Preferably something cool that can hold a Gatling gun." Such an odd request left even the president speechless. Then she approached the zombie, carefully sizing up this new student. But the next second, she shrieked in terror, "Bah, zombie!" Xiao quickly explained, "He's not a zombie. He's just wearing a zombie mask." But the president was visibly agitated. "Am I stupid, or are your eyes on your butts? He's obviously a zombie." The zombie nearby was also trembling in place, terrified. Finally, with Xiao's the president calmed down, but still cautiously asked the zombie, "What do you need for gear?" The zombie replied, "Every time I finish a job, I go home bare, so I want clothes that won't rip." Hearing their requests, the president was dumbfounded. One wants weapons stashed in their crotch, the other doesn't want to go bare. Meanwhile, inside the construction society, a girl lounged lazily on the floor. While kneeling before her was Xiao Wu, who'd fought the zombie earlier. Xiao Wu said, "He's strong. When I charged at him, everything went black, and in less than a second, he hung me on a pole. Even our president isn't his match." The girl perked up with interest, walking to Xiao Wu and saying, "Tell me, what's his name? Where is he now?" Two women, jealous over a zombie. Construction President Lan Qi, to get the zombie, used a honey trap on Xiao Wu, extracting all the zombie's info. Xiao Wu could only silently pray. The zombie would hold firm. Meanwhile, in the classroom, the teacher was explaining how to use zombies' habits to make traps and catch them alive. As the teacher lectured, the zombie frantically took notes. Xiao, watching from the side, curiously leaned in and asked what he was doing. Focused on his notes, the zombie casually replied, "I'm taking notes to tell my family back home." Xiao froze. What family? Luckily, the school's intercom blared. "All first years, assemble at the indoor arena." Xiao groaned reluctantly. "Didn't we just assemble?" But she couldn't defy the Academy's orders. Soon, she and the zombie reached the arena. Xiao suddenly asked, "Hey zombie, can you eat with that mask on?" The zombie's blood pressure spiked. Here came the tense explanation phase again. At the same time, Lan Qi was observing him. A man in black said, "He doesn't look too bright or that strong. Let me test him." Just then, a man strode in, the Mechanical Life Society's president. As he entered, everyone bowed and shouted, "Greetings, Grand President." Even the had his head forced down by Xiao. Passing Lan Qi, the man glared at her sharply. "Don't cause trouble here. Shi relented. The Grand President outweighed the zombie in importance, but he was polite to Xiling, making the zombie jealous. The zombie asked, "Is this Grand President?" Turns out he was Dr. Jimmings. Last human subject in bioresearch. Among tens of thousands of test subjects, he was the only survivor. After Dr. Jimming was wanted, he founded the Mechanical Life Society, ruling a city of 50 million. In his domain, even a single zombie hair would be scrubbed clean. The zombie broke out in a cold sweat. He couldn't risk exposing himself now. The Grand President's grand arrival was just to ask the students for a favor. The students were puzzled. What can we do that the Grand President can't? Then, he had a robot activate the camera. The next second, a figure appeared on the screen before everyone. The person in the footage was the human traitor who dropped the nuke earlier. The zombie's rage flared instantly. "That's the jerk who nuked me." According to reliable sources, he was Dr. Jimming's confidant. The zombie realized the zombie apocalypse was long over. It was just humans infighting now. The Grand President's move was to pry open the traitor's mouth and get Dr. Jimming's location. During the interrogation, they'd use tiger benches and real torture, even castration, but couldn't break him. Now, desperate, they turned to the new students. The Grand President promised, whoever cracks him gets to be vice. Everyone surged forward like they'd been injected with adrenaline, rushing to interrogate the traitor. 2 hours later, not only did they get nothing, they drove themselves, even resorting to burning incense and praying. The students' antics were so absurd, even Xiling couldn't watch. Xiao turned to the zombie. "Can you make him talk?" The zombie, hands in pockets, calmly said, "I can make him sing." Xiao immediately recommended him to the president, but she didn't understand. Why was the usually low-key zombie suddenly so proactive? She didn't know. The zombie was doing this for his zombie kin. His obedient followers kept going berserk. He decided to ask this human, hoping for answers. He stepped into the interrogation room. The man sneered at the zombie. "You grunts can give up. I won't betray the folk songs." As he finished, the zombie brushed his hand over the man's arm, leaving a tiny cut. The man grew cockier, taunting that the zombie wasn't even a mosquito, but he didn't know this was the nightmare's start. The cut was invaded by countless cells. In an instant, they surged into his brain's nerves. The zombie said slowly, "Stand up." The next second, the man stood uncontrollably. When the zombie asked his name, he answered without hesitation. The crowd outside the room was stunned by the sight. The president gasped, "He can control minds." The zombie continued, "You're Dr. Jimming's confidant. You must know a lot, so tell me." The zombies in the mines were always docile. Why did they suddenly go berserk? The man's answer shocked everyone again. "Because Dr. Jimming said he's doing something great, but first, he'd sprinkle a rage potion to control the zombies, then make zombies and humans fight each other to gather combat data on non-humans." Hearing this, the zombie fumed. "Where's Dr. Jimming now?" The man replied, "He's 500 meters underground in H City's ruins." Getting his answer, the zombie told him to turn around, then faced outward himself, muttering in zombie tongue, "You guys are really annoying. I've planted a suicide bug in your brain. Deal with it yourself." The man nodded obediently. Far off in H City, Dr. Jimming learned his subordinate had betrayed him, but he wasn't fazed. He even wanted the academy to come find him. His mushroom-haired assistant worried, "But that puts you in danger. Those guys aren't pushovers." Dr. Jimming brushed it off. "The experiment's almost done anyway. If they come, great. They can witness the birth of this grand new species." His mushroom-haired assistant grew concerned for him. "But that puts you at risk. Those people aren't to be trifled with." Dr. Jimming maintained a nonchalant attitude. "The experiment's nearly complete anyway. If they show up, perfect. Let them witness the birth of this great new species." At that moment, the zombie stepped out of the interrogation room, and everyone stared at him with shock and fear. For a moment, everyone whispered about the zombie. Even the two presidents' gazes toward him shifted. It seemed everyone was terrified of his ability to control human minds. Only the Mechanical Society president praised his performance, even saying that the vice president position mentioned earlier was but before that, "Come with me to register first." With that, he led the zombie away from the academy square. Meanwhile, the two from the construction society started whispering, "Doesn't appointing a vice president usually skip registration? Let's follow and see." Soon, they arrived at an abandoned factory in the outskirts. At this point, the zombie seemed to sense something off. "What is this place? Didn't you say you were taking me to register?" The Grand President's expression gradually darkened. "Zombie, since when did you learn to speak human language?" As the he was still wondering if the man was talking to him. The Grand President had already raised a positron laser cannon, aiming it at the zombie's forehead. The next second, a laser beam shot out. Before the zombie could react, his head was blasted off. The two who followed nearly met the same fate. The Grand President stood there, "They're fools, but I'm not." I don't know what the academy guards are doing. Letting something weird slip in unnoticed. But thankfully, that shot just took off the zombie's head. Now he'll lose all ability to move. Sorry, zombie. This isn't where you belong. But at that moment, the zombie charged at the Grand President at lightning speed, reaching him in the blink of an eye. The next second, he was punched into the wall by the zombie. The Grand President, now gripped by the neck, had no strength left to resist. At that moment, several figures suddenly appeared behind the zombie. Then, they fired laser attacks at him simultaneously. The next second, the zombies' position erupted in a massive explosion. The Grand President seized the chance to retreat, but the next second, his face twisted in shock. The headless zombie stood with an aura of dominance atop the robot's wreckage, then reached out, with a massive hand, swiftly grabbing at the president. Before the man could react, the zombie was already in front of him, but the man, being the Academy's strongest president, dodged the zombie's strike. Then fired his laser cannon again. Yet, unexpectedly, the zombie easily evaded it. The man froze in shock. Never imagining a headless zombie could still have such sharp reflexes. Realizing the danger, he quickly put distance between them. The two from construction, watching nearby, were equally stunned. At the same time, the Grand President's demeanor darkened, looking like he was about to get serious. At that moment, on the zombie's neck, something seemed to grow wildly. In an instant, the zombie's head regrew. This scene left the two onlookers so shocked. They stammered as they spoke. President, look, his head grew back. The zombie slowly said, let's talk. I don't want to hurt you. The man stared at the zombie coldly. You want to control my mind, don't you? Too bad for you. With that, he ripped off his shirt, revealing a half-mechanical arm. At the same time, a robot charged toward him, disassembling into countless parts as it neared. The next second, those parts fused onto the man's body. After the dust settled, the Grand President had transformed into a robot. Declaring, I don't negotiate with zombies. He rushed at the zombie, now mechanized, moving faster, and striking harder. Before the zombie could react, he was punched into the sky. The man leapt up after him, reaching the zombie's position, and began a one-sided beatdown. Even one of the zombie's teeth was knocked out. Then, with a punch, he sent the zombie crashing to the ground. But even then, the man wasn't done. A murderous glint flashed across his face. The zombie must die. With that, a devastating laser blasted from his chest, reducing everything in its path to ashes. Even Construction President Lan Shi was stunned. This was her first time seeing the Grand President unleash full power. After the strike, the zombie's location was empty. The man thought, he's got to be dead now, right? But the next second shocked him again. The zombie emerged slowly from the dust, roaring furiously at the sky. That single roar nearly overwhelmed them. Even the strongest Grand President felt fear, thinking, what the hell is this thing? The zombie, battered repeatedly, was now enraged. Pathetic human. I gave you a chance, and you're useless. How strong was the zombie's second form? With one punch, he flipped the entire region's crust. The Human Academy's strongest president was like a toy in his hand, easily crushed. As the zombie awakened his second form, the heavens shifted, clouds churned, as if the sky itself bowed to him. The president, closest to the zombie, was nearly suffocating under the pressure. The zombie spoke coldly. I already gave you a chance to negotiate. Now, tell me how you want to die. The two from construction saw the danger. The Grand President's in trouble. This zombie's not just stronger, his personalities changed too. Panicking, they fled the scene. Meanwhile, the mechanical president, unaware of the gravity, kept taunting the zombie. Eager for another round, gathering all his power, he charged at the zombie. The two clashed again, their attacks shattering nearby buildings. The construction duo, just escaping, thought they were safe a district away, but the next second, the zombie strike whizzed past them. Thanks to their quick reflexes, they dodged a fatal blow. The mechanical president, however, had his limbs severed. At the same time, the zombie stared coldly at him. The man shivered, summoning his remaining robots. The zombie barely flinched, casually swatting one away, obliterating it in an explosion. Amid the blast, the three from the academy escaped. The mechanical president told Lan Shi, eliminating zombies is everyone's duty. Lan Shi cursed internally, duty my ass. You're the one who provoked him. The three, hoping at least one would survive, split up and ran. But the zombie stood still, as if deep in thought. The next second, he raised his fist, slamming it into the ground. Lan Shi, fleeing midair, suddenly felt like she was skimming the ground. Looking back, she was stunned. The zombie had gathered all his power into his hand. The next second, he flipped the region's crust again. Everyone stared in disbelief. Even Xiao Xiao back at the academy, watching from afar, was floored. It felt like two different worlds. The suddenly upheaved crust blocked the mechanical president's path, crashing him to the ground. Meanwhile, the zombie watched coldly, then shot, grabbing the president's head in an instant. The next second, he dragged him to the top, of the risen crust. The zombie spoke icily. Puny human. Now do you feel the gap between us? Then, with an eerie grin. Robots are indeed hard to control, but as a conscious human, you must have a brain, right? With a sudden surge, the zombie virus spread from the man's brain. It turned out the man's parents died when he was young, and shortly after, Dr. Jimming took him for human modification. Not a single part of his body was normal. A walking corpse existence, more painful than death. Then, the zombie hurled him from 10,000 meters up. For him, death was a release. Fortunately, Lan Shi below caught the Grand President in time. Realizing his identity was exposed, the zombie quickly packed up to flee. I'm a kind zombie. Losing control like that was terrifying. Since my cover's blown, better run first. But at that moment, Xiling suddenly called out from behind. The zombie froze. He didn't want to kill to silence her, but now he had no choice. The next second, he turned and charged at Xiling. But then, a document appeared before him. Mr. Zombie. From today, you're a vice president of the academy. After delivering the news, she turned and left coolly, leaving the zombie dumbfounded. Wait, is this stamped by the Grand President? Did he say anything? He said you're human. Anyway, good luck. If you become president, you can do whatever you want. Meanwhile, in the infirmary, Lan Shi was baffled. Why make him vice president, knowing he's a zombie? But for the man, whether the zombie was human didn't matter. To catch Dr. Jimming, they needed the zombie's power. Then, the Grand President asked Lan Shi, how are the arrangements going? Learning everything was said, his gaze turned ruthless. Meanwhile, in the zombie kingdom, hearing their king was captured, his subjects frantically raised the alarm, planning to take down humans and rescue him. But Xiaohe stopped them. Knowing only the king could trap himself, 2 days later, an aircraft carrier appeared over a sea, with the Grand President and Xiling in the control room. Thanks to the zombies' help, they'd pinpointed Dr. Jimming's hideout. This mission was to capture him at all costs. Meanwhile, Xiao took the zombie to a fallen city. Though overrun, it was relatively intact. Suddenly, a squad of soldiers lined up before the zombie. Before he could react, they bowed in unison. They were from the Central 4th Army's 56th Corps, now under Vice President Zhang's command. The unit had 120,000 troops, a zombie commanding humans, leading 200,000 armed forces. If he told them to die, they'd obey. Since becoming vice president, he could order humans to their deaths, and they'd comply obediently. After the zombie became vice president of the Human Academy, he alone could command a human armed force of 200,000. Though it was a fallen city, it remained relatively intact. At that moment, a pair of soldiers suddenly stood neatly before the zombie. Before the zombie could react, they all bowed and saluted him. It turns out they belonged to a military group that, from today, would only follow Vice President Zhang's orders. And this entire corps had a staggering 120,000 soldiers. He was a zombie, yet became a human commander, able to command 200,000 human armed forces with a single word. If he told humans to die, they'd have to obediently die. Since the zombie took the role of vice president of the Human Academy, the Grand Prix Dash, so they tasked him with guarding the most critical checkpoint. This was the Trey Dash, toward Dr. Jimming's most likely escape route. As he arrived here, everyone bowed and saluted in unison, declaring they'd only follow Vice President Zhang's orders from now on. Hearing this, Zhang Si immediately perked up. So if I told you to die, you'd do it? Unexpectedly, right after he spoke, a soldier pulled the pin on a grenade, saying, to die for Vice President Zhang is my honor. Zhang Si panicked at this. He hurriedly said it was just a joke, but it was already too late. The grenade exploded on the spot, engulfing the soldier. Zhang Si hadn't expected them to be so obedient, and could only awkwardly wipe the sweat from his face. At that moment, a mocking voice suddenly rang out from above. Man was sitting on the barrel of a tank. Just a vice president. I thought it was some big shot. I don't get it. Why would they send a little punk like you to guard such an important position and make us cooperate with you to capture Dr. Jimming? Xiao flinched, startled, then realized who it was. The Stainless Steel Academies. Steel Blade Society Vice President Bang Shui and their Stainless Steel Academy Grand President had also arrived on the battleship. Above them, has your abnormal Human Academy run out of people? They actually sent a rookie to guard such a vital checkpoint. Lan Shi couldn't stand it anymore. We called you here to help, not to run your mouth. The man then said, this is the most crucial spot to catch Dr. Jimming. Why did you only send a petty vice president to guard it? The Grand President turned to him and said, because he can beat the crap out of you. The man scoffed, I'm stronger than you, Grand President. Meanwhile, in a secret base somewhere, Dr. Jimming was discussing recent experimental results with his lackey. The next second, he pressed a red button nearby. Immediately, a horde of zombies burst out of iron cages, but as soon as they reached the city, they were wiped out by the Stainless Steel Academy. Even in death, they were mocked by the Stainless Steel crew. Too weak. At that moment, a zombie picked up another zombie, muttering softly. Isn't this my kin? The man who just finished clearing the zombies approached the zombie, arrogantly saying, "Leave this to us. A weakling like you should stick to kid stuff." Just as tensions rose between the two sides, a roar echoed from afar, instantly drawing their attention. Following the sound, it was Ajun, the zombie's lackey. Ajun had always resented humans, and planned to take advantage of the zombie's absence, to give humans a wake-up call. But he didn't expect to run into the zombie right after stepping out. At that moment, a small zombie found Ajun, and handed him a bucket of gasoline. Not daring to defy the zombie king's orders, after handing over the gasoline to Ajun, he frantically ran back to the base. Seeing this, Ajun cursed them, "You bunch of cowards. I can take down humans single-handedly." At that moment, Mushroom Head, hiding in a base somewhere, was unusually excited. It was his first time seeing a specimen with maxed out stats, a treasure. With that, immediately, a vial of unidentified green liquid spread out in front of Ajun. After absorbing the liquid, Ajun chugged the gasoline in one gulp, then revved up his chainsaw. He let out a sky-shaking roar, a sonic wave instantly blasting through the entire city. Nearby buildings were all damaged by the energy wave. At that moment, Ajun's combat power skyrocketed to 10,000. Even the Stainless Steel Academy's Bang Chue president couldn't withstand a single strike from him. With just one roar, all the glass on the street shattered. The 200-pound Xiao Xiao was blown away by this force. Luckily, the zombie appeared just in time, blocking most of the attack. At that moment, Xiao Xiao asked in terror, "What the hell is this?" The mindless Ajun yelling that he'd wipe out all humans. Hearing this, President Bang got intrigued. Finally, something interesting. But the zombie grabbed Xiao Xiao and ran like mad. Xiao Xiao, trailing behind, was puzzled. With President Bang Chue here, why are we running? The zombie snapped, "Don't be stupid. This guy's the real deal, an immortal." Hearing this, Xiao Xiao nearly wet himself in fear. President Bang Chue, oblivious to the severity, thought the zombie was scared, even stepping forward to challenge Ajun. But the next second, a figure zoomed past President Bang. Before he could react, President Bang was sent flying hundreds of meters by Ajun's punch. He foamed at the mouth and passed out on the spot. His stainless steel gear completely wrecked. Ajun flashed forward, appearing before President Bang and saying, "Tell me, how do you want to die?" Then a fierce battle broke out. Mushroom Head, watching from the shadows, was thrilled. He'd never seen such a powerful zombie. After a brutal fight, President Bang was no match for Ajun. Ajun slapped him, sending him spinning in place, then kicked him hundreds of meters away. Ajun flashed forward again, reappearing in front of them. Without a word, he swung his chainsaw down. President Bang's stainless steel arm was sawed clean through, sparking like crazy. The escaping zombie and crew watched the battlefield through an 8x scope. Xiao Xiao panicked. "We're done for. President Bang can't hold on much longer." The once arrogant President Bang was now beaten by Ajun, crying for his mommy. The two on the rooftop watched, speechless. A soldier beside the zombie asked, "Vice President Jiang, what do we do next?" The zombie thought, "If I step in, I'll likely expose myself." So he turned to Xiao Xiao and said, "Go down and beat him up." Xiao Xiao froze, his anger boiling over. "You're clearly sending me to my death." But before he could react, the zombie bit his arm. Xiao Xiao stared at the bite mark, freaking out. "Oh no, am I going to turn into a zombie too?" But the next second, he clutched his chest, blurting out, "You're not going to do something to me, like you did to that spy, are you?" Xiangxi rolled his eyes, exasperated. "Just go easy on him." Meanwhile, President Bang couldn't take it anymore, begging Ajun to spare him. But the mindless Ajun was consumed by endless bloodlust. Then a voice called out from behind, "Hey, chainsaw guy, come play with me." Ajun turned around, furious, and saw Xiao Xiao dragging a Gatling gun, slowly approaching him. Xiao Xiao's eye, his body radiating battle lust. Ajun sneered, "My chainsaw's pretty badass. How long can you last?" Xiao Xiao shot back, "This old lady's a battle-hardened vet. Who the hell are you?" With that, he whipped out the Gatling from his pants, and unleashed a flurry of bullets at Ajun. "Granny's treating you to some gunfire." Facing the hail of bullets, Ajun started performing radio calisthenics, set 8. Behind him, President Bang curled up, trembling. Before anyone could react, Xiao Xiao flipped into the air above Ajun, pulling out 2 grenades, yanking the pins and shoving them into Ajun's mouth. Ajun's position erupted in a violent explosion. Just as Xiao Xiao thought the fight was over, Ajun emerged unscathed from the blast. "Hunting, was that supposed to tickle me?" Seeing this, Xiao Xiao unleashed another barrage at his face. The battle lust on Xiao Xiao's face still showed he wasn't satisfied. Meanwhile, a soldier on the rooftop asked, confused, "Vice President Jiang, what did you just do?" The zombie didn't answer, instead continuing his hand seals and saying, "Xiao Xiao can get even stronger." As his genes kept evolving, Xiao Xiao on the battlefield roared excitedly to the sky. "Yes, this is the feeling. I love it." At that moment, President Bang Chue was so intimidated by Xiao Xiao's aura that he huddled up, shivering. Ajun couldn't take it anymore. "You think you can beat me with this little strength?" With that, he charged at Xiao Xiao with his chainsaw, but Xiao Xiao dodged effortlessly. Then, Xiao Xiao kicked Ajun over 100 meters away. After tumbling dozens of times, Ajun slammed face first into the ground, finally stopping. President Bang Shui was dumbfounded. This chick's insane. Why'd she pretend to be weak earlier? She's nuts. Xiao Xiao seized the moment while Ajun was down, pulling out the cannon of universal truth. The zombie upstairs froze in shock. Sensing danger, Ajun chugged a nearby can of 95-octane gasoline. At that moment, the battle reached a fever pitch. The next second, Xiao Xiao fired first. But the cannon shell was sliced in half by Ajun's swing, with a cool landing pose. Ajun bisected Xiao Xiao at the waist. Ajun gloated arrogantly. I'm immortal. What VE you gotta fight me with? The zombie watching stayed silent, clenching his fist. The next second, Xiao Xiao's wounds began healing rapidly, leaving Ajun dumbfounded. A teasing voice rang out, immortal? I'm so scared. Funny thing, I am Ajun was floored, even questioning who the real zombie was. The zombie's expression grew grim. Though Xiao Xiao's combat power surged after the gene mutation, his bones are all shattered now, and his muscles are completely torn. While he can regenerate his genes, the pain of being cut in half is very real. The zombie's face darkened. Ajun, since you won't stay home quietly, don't blame me for beating you down. He then boosted Xiao Xiao's combat power to its peak. The next second, Xiao Xiao teleported in front of Ajun, before Ajun could react. He took a massive slap to the face. Under Xiao Xiao's relentless assault, Ajun couldn't hold his own. Finally, Xiao Xiao smashed him in the forehead with the Gatling, sending Ajun crashing to the ground like a cannonball. Xiao Xiao approached Ajun again, hammering him before he could speak. Ajun's head was pounded into the concrete. But just as Xiao Xiao prepared a finishing blow, Ajun shakily raised his hands in surrender. If you stop first, I'll go home right now. Meanwhile, Mushroom Head, watching this, was stunned. If he surrenders now, Jimming's plan is ruined. But what no one expected was that, as Xiao Xiao completely let his guard down, Ajun pulled a dirty sneak attack. A punch sent Xiao Xiao flying hundreds of meters. Luckily, President Bang Shui took the brunt of it as a meat shield. The zombie was furious at Xiao Xiao's stupidity. You even believed a ghost's words? Once you drop your guard, I lose control. After landing the sneak attack, Ajun got cocky again. So you're on stimulants. But if you want results, don't trust a zombie's words in your next life. Meanwhile, Mushroom Head grew excited. This zombie's got hidden skills and knows how to ambush. He's hands down the wildest zombie I've ever seen. At the same time, Mushroom Head cheered up. This zombie doesn't just have hidden abilities. He's a sneak attack pro. He's absolutely the wildest zombie I've seen so far. As long as we take them down, it's over. At that moment, the zombie's figure suddenly appeared on his screen. The clueless Mushroom Head even tried to control Ajun to confront the zombie head-on. But no matter how he operated, Ajun stood rooted to the spot, unmoving. Because at that moment, Ajun had been struck, with uncontrollable trembling all over his body. The zombie, with a grim face, slowly said, Ajun, you still remember who I am, right? Didn't I tell you to stay home? Explain why you're here. At that moment, Ajun suddenly recalled, when he was still the zombie king, the zombie had stormed into his territory, and demanded he become his underling. Back then he'd scoffed. A pathetic thing, neither human nor corpse. What makes you think I'd be your lackey? In the end, the zombie not only claimed the throne, but also gave Ajun a brutal beating. Now just recalling this, Ajun was so terrified he wet his pants. A zombie king who'd lived for 1,000 years. Just how terrifying was he? With a single, you still remember me? He scared the immortal Ajun into a cold sweat, yellow liquid streaming from between his legs. How terrifying the zombie was, Ajun knew better than anyone, 1,000-fold. Back when he was a regional boss, the zombie had come looking for him, and told him to be his He'd only said, why should I? Before the zombie grabbed him by the throat, lifting him into the air in front of his crew. Come on, you tell me why. Choked, Ajun could only stammer. Sorry. Thinking of this, Ajun was so scared he didn't dare move an inch. Oblivious, Mushroom Head kept frantically trying to control Ajun to attack. Come on, punk, don't wimp out. You're an invincible immortal. But he didn't know that Ajun, once an immortal, had been torn to shreds by the zombie, turned into sushi, and hung on a tree as air-dried meat for centuries. Now, facing the zombie walking toward him with a furious glare, Ajun broke down in tears of terror. What are you barking about? Fight him yourself if you want. Don't drag me into it. With that, he bolted, vanishing from everyone's sight in a flash, leaving the bewildered group staring in confusion. Mushroom Head, still in hiding, was even more baffled. A zombie that can break free of my control. This is a first. As Ajun's figure ran farther and farther, Mushroom Head tried one last desperate move to summon Ajun back. At that moment, a hand suddenly stopped him. Jimming said, give up on this path. They're coming. At the same time, an armed helicopter suddenly appeared above the city, carrying the presidents of various societies. Lan Shi fiercely interrogated a spy. Is your Dr. Jimming here? The spy, infected with the zombie virus, spilled everything without resistance. It's divided into 6 floors, covering over 10,000 square meters. Lan Shi was stunned. Over 10,000 square meters? Finding the entrance alone would take forever. But the steel blade president had no patience for that, whipping out his 40-meter-long blade. In the face of absolute power, brute force solves everything. With that, he leapt straight off the helicopter, moving so fast the air itself groaned under pressure. His steel blade spun wildly in his hands. The next second, a towering tornado shot toward the ground, exploding with a deafening bang upon impact. The blast's power rivaled that of a nuclear bomb. As the dust settled, the hard concrete ground had been smashed into a massive crater by the steel blade president. He didn't forget to strike a cool pose as he sheathed his blade. Isn't this faster than an elevator? Lan Shi, still on the helicopter, rolled her eyes. This idiot. Do you guys ever think before acting? What if there's a trap? At that moment, the mechanical president stepped up. In the face of absolute power, all tricks and schemes are useless. With that, he leapt stylishly from the helicopter, proving he was the second zombie king after the main zombie. Beneath his goofy exterior lay the horrifying power of even the mechanical president had to urgently order a full retreat. Just moments ago, after the steel blade president blasted open a huge hole, soldiers quickly swarmed in, surrounding the entire lab. But after searching the whole base, there was no sign of Dr. Jimming or his crew. Yet the city had already been sealed off by land, sea, and air. Not even a mosquito could escape, let alone a person. What they didn't know was that, atop a certain rooftop, Dr. Jimming and his group were watching their every move. He ordered Mushroom Head to initiate the power plan. The next second, a sealed pod appeared in front of the steel blade president, with a note attached, contains Lion King. The steel blade president, puzzled, took the note, and read it carefully. Contains Zombie King. Extreme threat. If you're a man, open it. What man could resist such blatant provocation? He ordered it blown open. But the cautious mechanical we're here to capture people, not to stir up trouble. Seeing the provocation fail, Dr. Jimming immediately activated Plan B. As he pressed the button in his hand, the lab erupted with the ticking of a bomb countdown. The next second, the sealed pod exploded right before their eyes, forcing the soldiers to scramble away from the blast. But the steel blade president sneered. What kind of trap is this? At the same time, atop a certain rooftop, Dr. Jimming suddenly let out a crazed roar to the sky. Humanity's extinction happens today. Let us welcome this great new species to obliterate all humans, including the networks. Inside the lab, as the smoke slowly cleared, everyone's expressions turned grave. But what appeared was a tiny zombie sucking a pacifier, its face utterly harmless. An awkward silence instantly filled the lab. Just as the steel blade president moved to deal with it, the mechanical president stepped in to stop him. The ferocious ones aren't scary. It's these kid-like, seemingly harmless little zombies you've got to watch out for. But the steel blade president ignored him, slashing at the little zombie with one swing. The next second, the mechanical president screamed in shock, urgently ordering all soldiers to retreat. Before they could ask questions, they fled the lab in a hurry. Though the little zombie had been cut in half by the steel blade president, not only did it not die, it split into two. This move left both presidents stunned for a full year. However, the split little zombie didn't stop. It kept dividing endlessly. A tiny zombie, still unweaned, harbored the terrifying ambition to destroy humanity. When it pulled the pacifier from its mouth, it transformed into a curvy, female zombie, looking eerily like the zombie's distant cousin. After Dr. Jimming released the little zombie, Mushroom Head manipulated the computer, unleashing more zombies to create chaos, so they could escape in the confusion. The next second, countless zombies surged toward the base, from all over the city. A pitch-black swarm descended, and the men below quickly organized a defense. But just as they moved, Lan Shi stopped them, sneering, "Step back. Let me warm up first. Leave the professional stuff to a pro like me." As she spoke, she drew a golden longsword. The first time in history she'd ever used a weapon. Before the zombies could reach her, she charged forward. These low-level zombies were no match for her. In an instant, she sent all the zombies flying. Using the momentum of a tree, she launched herself skyward like a cannonball. This display left her little followers dumbfounded. With a flash of blade and sword light, all the zombies were sliced into chunks, falling freely from the air. Her exquisite swordsmanship even carved the zombie flesh into little flowers. At that moment, Lan Shi radiated a kingly aura, her resolute gaze seeming to tell Dr. Jimming, "Escape through me in the chaos. Not a chance." Meanwhile, Mushroom Head exploded with rage. "This hag wiped out all the zombies I just released. If only we had another chainsaw zombie like earlier." At that moment, in a certain city street, Two very familiar figures were closely monitoring everything. It was the zombies' lackeys, Go and Xiao, wearing N95 masks to avoid viral control. Their purpose here was to retrieve a June, who'd run off alone. But these feral zombies ignored Xiao, even swatting away their flyers. After a fruitless search, the two broke out in a nervous sweat. Go stammered in fear. If we can't find a June, we'll get beaten along with him when we go back. At the same time, inside the lab, the two presidents looked horrified. This kind of zombie, it's the first we've ever encountered. Not only could this little zombie split, it could also taunt them, actively. Come on, let's keep playing. The Steel Blade president, in all his years, had never met anyone bold enough to taunt him like this. He drew his blade and hacked at the little zombie furiously. Even cutting it into pieces didn't matter. In the end, it could still regenerate back to its original form. The Steel Blade president was so mad, he nearly spat blood. If you're a man, don't run, fight me fair and square. Hearing this, the little zombie obediently pulled the pacifier from its mouth. The next second, its hair sprouting long in an instant. Clothes that once fit perfectly now became tiny on her frame. Moments later, a stunning female zombie stood before the two, shocking them into muttering, "Holy crap." The zombie looked at them and slowly said, "I don't know which of you wants to fight first." The zombie had waited a millennium for its other half, but this female zombie, freshly emerged, didn't seek out the zombie. Instead, she threw a move at the Steel Blade president. But as a hardcore, steel-hearted man, how could he fall so easily? Watch me chop you into zombie bits. With that, he unleashed his signature double blade slash on her. But the next second, his face froze. The female zombie blocked his attack with just one finger. The Steel Blade president knew he was in deep trouble, yelling to the sidelines, "You bastards, get over here and help." The Grand President, seeing this, realized the gravity of the situation. The next second, he transformed into a model of mechanical armor. But no matter how cool the armor looked, it didn't last 3 seconds. The female zombie kicked him square in the head. The Grand President was instantly sent flying, the sheer force kicking him right out of the lab. The massive sound of breaking through the building made the onlookers outside turn serious. At the same time, atop a certain skyscraper, a violent explosion suddenly erupted. The next second, the Grand President was flung from the rooftop, sliding to a stop right in front of Xiao and Go. It could only helplessly take a kick from the zombie. This kick to the face directly deformed its face entirely. The force of momentum sent it hurtling into the atmosphere. This scene left the Steel Blade president stunned for a whole. It completely overturned his understanding of zombies. However, this kick completely enraged the little zombie. It grabbed the other end of the rope with a backhand. "I can pull people and curse too." The zombie smirked disdainfully. "You can do jack squat." At that moment, the little zombie broke free of the leash and dove toward the ground. With a boom, it landed on the other end of the submarine. Seeing this, the zombie instantly grew intrigued. The little zombie roared angrily, "I just wanted a wider space to fight. I don't need to run." With that, it hefted the submarine and hurled it at the zombie. The zombie, hit by the impact, crashed with a boom onto the ocean surface. After tumbling a few times, it finally landed steadily on the battleship's deck. The soldiers on the battleship, seeing something suddenly fly in, were instantly on edge. But once they recognized the zombie's face, they scrambled away in terror. The zombie gazed into the distance and said, "Do you just love smashing stuff?" The little zombie in midair scoffed, "Mind your own business. Smash something yourself if you're so great." Meanwhile, Xiao and the others on the ground watched the scene unfold intently. But at that moment, the Steel Blade president urgently pressed them to leave. Though the zombie's strong, Jimming is humanity's greatest research genius ever. Even a random experiment of his can turn an ordinary person into a regional overlord. If we don't go now, it'll be too late. Facing his urgency, Xiao sneered, "Shut up. No human has ever been a match for our king. Not even a god could do it." Those words left the Steel Blade president stunned for a year. At the same time, the zombie on the deck suddenly flickered, vanishing from its. This shocked the little zombie for a moment, but before it could react, the zombie appeared above it. The little zombie realized too late. Its opponent's speed had increased. The next second, the zombie smashed a fist into its face, and in an instant, its entire body shot into the sky like a cannonball. This strike shifted the battlefield to outer space. The little zombie was utterly shocked, never imagining the zombie could be this ferocious. Before it could react, another shadow loomed, a mole on its face, and with a boom, the little zombie, along with the massive battleship, was embedded into the moon. Xiao and the others stared in stunned silence. "We're done. No need to run now. Nowhere's safe anyway." Meanwhile, on the moon, the little zombie's face twisted in rage. With a fierce burst of strength, it lifted the battleship, roaring, "It's not over. Keep going." With that, it hurled the battleship back toward Earth, then catapulted itself after it. Watching the little zombie dive down, the zombie merely snorted dismissively. With a sudden burst from its legs, the immense pressure whipped up the ocean waves. Then, with a boom, it rocketed into the sky. Aren't you so tough? Come on then. Facing the charging zombie, the little zombie dove headfirst into the battleship's nuclear reactor. With a booming crash, the little zombie ripped the reactor right out. With a shout, taste this first. Seconds later, sparks began flashing around the battleship. Then, a nuclear fusion erupted, spreading like a miniature sun. Xiao and the others below gaped in astonishment. In the blink of an eye, the explosion's shockwave raced toward them. The next second, with a colossal boom, a massive mushroom cloud rose into the sky. Xiao and the others below could only huddle together to withstand the blast. At that moment, both zombie kings landed back on their respective decks. The zombie smirked at the little zombie. Come on, little trash, why'd you stop? If this is all you've got, stick to kid stuff. The little zombie was utterly shocked. What did this guy eat to get like this? He's fine even after that? The two stared at each other across the sea, neither willing to back down. A godly clash left the onlookers caught in the crossfire. Why'd they stop? Is it over? Right as the words were spoken, the little zombie powered up again, its body turning an eerie black. The next second, its arms stretched straight toward the zombie. The defenseless zombie was grabbed in one swift move, and with a boom, it was smashed into a building behind. The little zombie taunted. Since we're the same kind, and neither can take the other down, why not team up to destroy the world? We'll split it 50-50 and stay out of each other's way. This left Xiao's jaw on the floor, terrified that if the zombie agreed, humanity was doomed. The Grand President, watching from afar, was equally horrified. This is freaking insane. He turned to Xiao. Hey, I'm serious. Let's just run. Even the zombie can't handle him. We should preserve our strength, find his weakness later, and then team up to take him down in one shot. Before he could finish, Xiao snapped. Shut up, you trash human. Who told you my king can only transform once? Those words stunned the Grand President for another year. At the same time, the zombie's face darkened. I'm not interested in your world-destroying nonsense. As for your so-called cooperation, all I can say is you're not worthy, you little trash. Just how powerful was the zombie in its third form? With a light stomp, the heavens themselves seemed to bow to it. A zombie this strong, and someone still wanted. The zombie wasn't having it. What the hell are you? Worthy of teaming up with me? 50-50. You've got the guts to say that? Only weaklings obsess over destroying the world, or ruling it. The little zombie was left speechless by the zombie's barrage, yet powerless to retort. The zombie stomped again, fiercely. Looks like I need to teach you, newborn, who the real boss is. As he spoke, his skin began peeling away, every muscle in his body strengthening. Then, the zombie let out a sky-shaking roar, making the onlookers pale in awe. At that moment, the zombie completed its third. Xiao and the others blurted out, holy crap, what the hell did it turn into now? The zombie stood firmly atop the building, its gaze radiating an all-knowing intensity. With just a look, it made the little zombie in the Pacific tremble. What the hell is this thing? It's tougher than me. Meanwhile, on the other side, Xiao's trio and the Grand President, watching the show, saw the Grand President faint from the zombie's aura. Kind-hearted Go slapped him awake with a big smack. Take a look. This is our king. The Grand President gaped in stunned silence. Just then, the zombie stepped forward, revealing the third forms. Perfectly sculpted. Holy crap, he changed again. And why's he looking more human? The little zombie was awestruck by this sight. At the same time, rain began pouring from the sky. The distant little zombie flew into a rage. I don't care if you're a zombie or a human. The ultimate Lion King will be me. With that, it swung its fist, teleporting from the Pacific straight to the zombie's face. But the instant it was about to connect, the zombie moved. With a single step, everything around froze in place. The next second, the zombie swung its hand back, and before the little zombie could react, it was torn apart in an instant. Just then, the once frozen rain began flowing backward, sucking Hong Shitzi Lin and the others into the air. Even the distant battleship and the deep-sea beasts of the Pacific were pulled skyward. Xiao stared in horror. Time reversal. Is this something a zombie should do? Moments later, the world settled back to normal. The little zombie, now torn to pieces, growled at the zombie. Who the hell are you? The zombie just stared coldly and said, I'm your damn father. The zombie, in its fourth form, battled aliens in a single clash. It annihilated their entire fleet. Seeing this, the little zombie literally dropped dead from fright. It turned out that just moments ago, after evolving into its third form, the heavens and earth shifted in response, and the little zombie was ripped apart by the zombie. Xiao, witnessing this, went numb. Under that goofy exterior lies such terrifying power. Even Ziling was left in awe. Is this kind of horrifying strength really something? At that moment, the whale that had been sucked into the air crashed back down. On the other side, Dr. Jimming gaped in stunned silence. Since the dawn of human civilization, no one had ever seen such power. Though hailed as humanity's greatest biologist, his ultimate creation, the strongest Lion King, was like a toy before the zombie. Meanwhile, though the little zombie had been torn apart, it was, after all, humanity's greatest engineered Lion King. In mere seconds, its body began regenerating, taunting, "What's the point of doing this? I can't take you down, but neither can you. Don't forget, the Lion King is immortal. Even if you shred me into countless pieces, I'll still regenerate." Facing the little zombie's taunts, the zombie replied coldly, expressionless, "Then let's try again." With that, it swung its massive hand back with force, and the little zombie was instantly propelled toward the zombie by an invisible surge. The next second, the zombie grabbed its throat. Yeah, you're right about everything. But don't you have some misunderstanding about death? Destroying someone doesn't just mean physical annihilation. Hearing this, a chill rose in the little zombie's heart. The zombie's once playful expression suddenly turned deadly serious. With a piercing scream, ancient visions flooded the little zombie's mind. Long before Blue Star's civilization matured, alien civilizations had targeted it, sending fleets to invade over and over. Their leader, a robot clad in full armor, had besieged Blue Star 1,351 times to date. With the leader's command, countless missiles and aliens charged toward Blue Star. But at that moment, a figure appeared somewhere on Blue Star. The instant it emerged, countless water columns shot into the sky. Moments later, every alien warship was obliterated. That figure was the zombie in its fourth form. The intangible fear and pressure snapped the little zombie back to reality. With one final, intimidating glare, the little zombie lost all will to resist, its eyes rolling back as it passed out completely. Thus, the little zombie was finally out of the game. The zombie unleashed unprecedented, terrifying power, not only scaring the first-generation Lion King to death, but also capturing Dr. Jimming alive. However, Dr. Jimming didn't panic. Instead, he grew excited. The zombie, looking at this unimpressive little zombie in its grasp, tossed it off the building with disinterest. And with that, the little zombie officially bit the dust. Meanwhile, Xiao and the others stared in shock at the scene. What just happened? Bored, it hurled him off the building. And with that, the little zombie officially kicked the bucket. Meanwhile, Xiao and the others stared in shock at the scene. What just happened? Is that it? Is it over? The Grand President was utterly shocked. Did the first-generation Lion King just go down like that? Meanwhile, Xiao on the side looked completely unfazed, as if he'd seen it all before. Probably, its consciousness faded under the king's supreme form. In short, it got scared to death. On the other side, Dr. Jimming was also dumbfounded, standing there in a daze. Mushroom Head, the first to snap out of it, quickly grabbed Jimming to make a run for it. But it was already too late. The zombie had appeared right in front of them, staring them down intently. Mushroom Head and the others were so terrified they jumped a meter high. How did you know we were here? We never showed our faces. Facing the zombie's death godlike gaze, Mushroom Head was so scared he wet himself. At that moment, the zombie suddenly spoke. Are you going to surrender yourselves? Or do you want to join that Lion King in a pile? I'll give you 2 seconds to decide. Having witnessed the zombie's power, the group was already petrified. He hurriedly stepped forward to surrender. Though Dr. Jimming was unwilling, he had no choice. After all, in front of the zombie's overwhelming presence, even gods would have to bow their heads. In the end, Dr. Jimming, who was supposed to be executed on the spot, was taken alive by the zombie. But then, the zombie crouched alone in the distance, drawing circles in the dirt, like a kid who'd done something wrong. Could it be I'm just a kind-hearted zombie? Turning into that form is really terrifying. Ziling and her companion nearby were stunned. Then Ziling ordered Xiao to go ask him. But Xiao was inwardly freaking out. To convince Xiao to go, Ziling promised him outright, I'll promote you to vice president when we get back. With that, a trembling Xiao cautiously approached the zombie. Are you okay? We should get going. The zombie suddenly stood up, startling Xiao. Then, with a serious face, the zombie said, I'm hungry. Also I want clothes that won't rip. Seeing this, Xiao finally relaxed. It seemed the zombie had reverted to its goofy persona. Curious, Xiao asked again, what was that just now? The zombie replied innocently, I don't really have a sense of time, and weirdos like that, I've beaten up tons of them before. In short, they're too weak to even be worth remembering. At that moment, Dr. Jimming on the other side was unusually excited, muttering, I must get your genes and create a being even stronger than you. The zombie finally completed its mission, not only capturing the human traitor Dr. Jimming alive, but also becoming president of the Human Academy. It even gained its own city, and at the same time, relocated all its subjects to the new city. Meanwhile, the zombie was being questioned by human higher-ups. Mr. Zombie, what does becoming president mean to you? If nothing, then which city would you like? The zombie scratched its head and grinned goofily. I think that H19 sounds nice. I'll take that one. The higher-ups exploded at this. That's an empty shell of a city with no one in it. Even if you wanted to raise chickens, you'd need eggs. There's nothing there. How will you develop it? If the population doesn't reach 10 million by the deadline, your presidency will be revoked. But no matter what they said, the zombie had already decided on that city. In the end, the higher-ups had no choice but to agree to its request. But this sparked outrage from someone who cursed aloud. The abnormal human academy. Where did they find this idiot? Passing up perfectly good cities for a trashy empty one. Even Ling could only sigh helplessly. After becoming president, to protect the city, the zombie expanded its forces from 1 legion to 10, and it marked a historic milestone. Humanity's army protecting zombies moving into a city, a grand spectacle. The zombie watched this scene with satisfaction. Xiaohe then said, as per the king's orders, everyone has been fully relocated. The zombie nodded in approval, then shouted, attention. All the soldiers lined up neatly in a row. The sight was so imposing that a little zombie cried out for its mom. Will they hit me with those fiery sticks? A soldier replied sternly. President Zhang's orders are God's orders. President Zhang's subjects are our subjects. We'll ensure your safe relocation. For a moment, the little zombie didn't know what to say. The zombie atop the building turned and walked away, saying, sometimes, to ensure a species' survival, war isn't the only way. Xiaohe naturally agreed with the zombie's words. Then a ghost suddenly asked, what about Ajun? He's been hanging there for months. The zombie waved it off. No need to bother. Let him keep hanging. At that moment, atop the zombie's building, something was dangling. Zooming in, it was Ajun, strung up. Ajun, tear-streaked and desperate, pleaded, I'm sorry. King, I was wrong. I'll behave next time. Forgive me this once. I don't want to turn into jerky. On the other side, the citizens cheered joyfully. Thank you, King, for giving us a new home. Thus ends the first chapter of Mr. Zombie. But the zombie story is far from over. Season 2 of Zombie has finally arrived. It turns out Xiao Xiao is the true combat ceiling among humans. Ever since being bitten by the zombie, Xiao Xiao can freely transform into a zombie state. Besides regenerating quickly even after being cut in half, he can also rotate his head 360 degrees after settling its zombie subjects. The zombie and humanity enjoyed a brief peace. But on the other side, Xiao Xiao was locked in a fierce fight with Ling. And what's more, Xiao Xiao was still in his zombie form. Ling couldn't believe her eyes. He's like a completely different person. Xiao Xiao struck a victor's pose, arrogantly saying, Senior Ling, I can keep going. Ling was so furious she could barely stand it, vanishing in a flash, only to reappear behind Xiao Xiao the next second, ready to ambush. But just then, Xiao Xiao eerily turned his head 360 degrees. Ling, midair, blurted out a national curse in shock. Can you believe this guy's human? She quickly pulled back her attack and retreated. But under her horrified gaze, Xiao Xiao roared, hoisting a Gatling gun in his hands. The next second, he unleashed a barrage on Ling. Xiao Xiao, brimming with excitement, shouted, Senior Ling, can I be president now? Though it was a polite question, the Gatling gun in his hands never stopped firing. Under this relentless barrage, Ling could only dodge frantically to avoid the onslaught. Gritting her teeth, she snapped, you want to be president? Then show me your full strength. With that, she charged at Xiao Xiao like a cannonball. Seeing this, Xiao Xiao let out a sky-shaking roar, his zombie cells activating endlessly within him. At the same time, Ling slashed horizontally with her blade, cutting straight through Xiao Xiao's body. Yet Xiao Xiao kept taunting, Senior, didn't eat breakfast? That didn't even hurt. As soon as he spoke, Ling struck again. Before Xiao Xiao could react, Ling sliced him in half at the waist. But not only was he fine, he laughed arrogantly. Ling was stunned. Why isn't he even phased? But soon enough, Xiao Xiao's body regenerated at a visible speed. Ling was once again floored by the sight, blurting out another national curse. Before long, Xiao Xiao's body was fully restored, and he even seemed to gain a hint of masculinity. Seeing this, Ling quickly retreated to create distance. Now Ling was utterly shocked. What the hell did that zombie do to you? Xiao Xiao didn't answer her question, instead asking again, can I be president now? With that, he flashed forward, throwing a punch at Ling in midair. Unable to dodge, Ling took the hit full on, crashing hard into a wall. As Xiao Xiao closed in step by step, Ling weakly conceded, it's over. At that moment, Xiao Xiao reverted to his normal self, looking completely different from moments ago, apologizing profusely to Ling. But Ling asked, did you actually turn into a zombie after its bite? Xiao Xiao said no, adding, yesterday in the lab, they ran a full check. All my vitals are normal. And even my DNA hasn't changed. Then what's with the 360-degree head turn and regenerating after being cut in half? Xiao Xiao didn't know either, saying, I can turn into that form whenever I want now, and it doesn't feel uncomfortable at all. If I'm feeling down, a couple shots of adrenaline make me even stronger. And so far, there've been no side effects. Ling listened, her face full of envy and disbelief. But the next second, she made a shocking decision. She'd go get the zombie to bite her too. The zombie was truly the king of zombies. Not only did it bring its zombie subjects to live in a human city, it also opened a zombie clothing store there, along with a zombie barbershop and zombie real estate. And just moments ago, after Ziling witnessed Xiao Zhao's body regeneration ability, she rushed to the airport without hesitation. In mere moments, she arrived at the zombie's city. Right off the plane, she bolted toward where the zombie was. Inside the zombie's hall, the zombie was assigning territories to its subordinates. As its most capable lieutenant, Xiao He was given a role by the zombie that was naturally extraordinary. Direct control over all the zombie clan's finances. Just then, the doors burst open with a bang, and Ziling, panting heavily, locked her gaze onto the zombie. The zombie, seeing her, thought Ziling was there to issue orders, saying, "Perfect timing. I was just about to go report intel to you." But Ziling charged straight at the zombie. Before it could react, Ziling, shoving her arm inside. In a state of confusion, the zombie was forced to bite Ziling. Afterward, Ziling bolted out at top speed, leaving the baffled zombie standing there. As Ziling dashed out of the zombie's building, her assistant finally arrived. The man looked worried. "President Ziling, didn't you forget he can control people, letting him bite you so easily? What if he controls you to do unspeakable things?" Before he could finish, Ziling cut him off. After seeing Xiao Zhao's powers, "I don't care about that. As long as I can get this ability, he can do whatever he wants." Meanwhile, Jiangxi had fully gained control of the city. After assigning roles to his underlings, the city began operating normally. Soon, the zombie clothing store officially opened, followed by a zombie barbershop, zombie real estate agencies, zombie construction firms, and even a zombie driving school. Though these zombies couldn't tell the driver's seat from the passengers, a wave of road hazards was inevitable in the future, and their leader, the Great Lion King, settled into a brief, comfortable life. At the same time, on the other side, the zombies' files were being closely examined. A one-eyed blonde girl looked at the zombies' data, her face full of disdain. "Someone this bland, let loose, would just be a total nobody. I really don't get it. I really don't understand. Why did the Abnormal Human Academy make him president?" The assistant nearby added. The Grand President said earlier that the Abnormal Human Academy invited a zombie to be president, and it's this guy. At first, the blonde girl just thought it was just slander between academies. But this time, no slander was needed. A president with zero personality. I don't like him either. As for whether he's a zombie, we'll know if we go check. The zombie's girlfriend from 1,000 years ago finally appeared, and right upon emerging, she couldn't wait to find the zombie. But just moments ago, she was still a frozen mummy. Meanwhile, in the Arctic mountains, countless helicopters and icebreakers arrived one after another. The leader, an old man known as Dr. Strange, specialized in archaeology and excavation research. At that moment, a man behind him began explaining. "What we found this time is a mummy. Based on observations, it's estimated to be over 1,000 years old." Hearing this, the old man's expression turned serious. The man beside him continued explaining. "We discovered it during a scientific probe. It was buried 500 meters under the ice. Now we're using a crane to try pulling it up." The old man's face shifted from concern to delight. If this really is an ancient human, it could be the greatest discovery in human civilization yet. He gleefully lit a cigarette. "I hope this excavation can aid our research on ancient times." As the archaeology president of the Abnormal Human Academy, this was his first time feeling so nervous. But what he didn't notice was that the faces of those behind him had turned eerily strange. At the same time, the crane hoisted the mummy up. What came into view was a massive block of ice, and inside it, frozen, was a mummy from 1,000 years ago. Upon closer inspection, it was a perfectly preserved female mummy. Her slender figure and flowing hair made her look almost lifelike. The archaeology president and the man beside him were dumbfounded. This is the posture a 1,000-year-old mummy should have. But just then, a figure suddenly grabbed the man from behind, and that shadowy figure opened its mouth wide, aiming for the man's neck. Without hesitation, it bit down. Before the man could react, his artery was drained dry. In the blink of an eye, everyone collapsed onto the snowy ground. The surviving archaeology president panicked. "You're not one of us. Who the hell are you?" As soon as he spoke, he was kicked to the ground. Then the figure said to its companion beside it, "Use him for the sacrifice." Moments later, the old man's artery was completely drained by the group. The leader finally revealed their true face. A vampire-like human, just like the zombie. With a boom, the massive ice block was set on the ground. The group of vampires eagerly began breaking it apart. Soon, the ice started melting, and the mummy inside regained its vitality, revealing flawless, pale skin. Two nearby vampire humans hugged each other, overcome with joy. The moment the ice fully melted, the group knelt in reverence, shouting, "We welcome the Ghost King. May our queen remain forever youthful, eternally young." But this female Ghost King gazed at them with a cold, indifferent expression. Then she said icily, "That idiot surnamed Jiang, is he still alive? He's a living, 1,000-year-old vampire king. Not only the zombie's old flame, but also his only rival." Yet because she lost a bet to the zombie, she sealed herself in the Arctic for 1,000 years. Now that the 1,000-year term was up, the first thing she did upon breaking free was ask about the zombie. When she learned he was not only alive, but thriving, a hint of dread flashed in her eyes. She muttered, "Zombie. This time, I won't lose to you again." Meanwhile, in the academy headquarters of Guangzhou province, all the academy presidents gathered together. Before them, a struggling human writhed. Everyone watched in shock. What is this thing? I've never seen it before, and it doesn't even look like a zombie. A nearby doctor explained. He's a science team member from the neighboring province. When we found him in the Arctic, everyone else had vanished. Though he's an ordinary human, when we captured him, he injured 2 of our presidents. After the group's research yielded no answers, Ziling said, looks like we need a professional. Far away in H City, the zombie received a mysterious phone call. Soon after, a stretched, black sedan pulled up to the academy headquarters. Stepping out of the car was the dashing, bald zombie president. The moment he appeared, all the soldiers lined up neatly in 2 rows. Greeting, welcome, President Jiang, led by the soldiers. He quickly entered the meeting room. Everyone's eyes turned to him. At that moment, one president took the initiative to greet the zombie. President Jiang, hello. I'm President Ng from Steel Rod Academy. I heard you're the one who captured Dr. Jieming. Seeing this, the zombie extended a hand and introduced himself. But as soon as the zombie finished and walked away, President Ng began mocking him. Just a small-time nobody. A man nearby joined in the mockery. He looked so weak. I don't get why their academy made him president. But President Steelblade cursed inwardly. These reckless fools. They actually invited him here. He then hid in a corner, trembling. If I'd known the zombie was coming, I'd rather rot at home. By then, the zombie had reached the control panel. A researcher asked the zombie. We don't know what this monster is, but the zombie looked baffled. I don't even remember how old I am, and you want me to figure this out? Still out of duty. The zombie reluctantly began inspecting it, but when he saw the wound on the man's neck, he suddenly froze. The crowd behind him grew tense. Zombie, did you figure something out? Feeling provoked, the man immediately opened his mouth to bite the zombie. But when he saw the zombie's face clearly, his pupils shrank in terror. At that moment, the zombie unleashed a burst of spiritual energy. The powerful aura sent the lab and all the presidents behind him flying. The man trembled in fear, tears streaming from his eyes. The zombie revealed his long-lost second form once more. Vampires. I remember wiping your kind out 1,000 years ago. Didn't expect you to show up again. How interesting. The zombie was furious, and the consequences were dire. He not only beat the vampire queen into a mummy, but also slaughtered her entire clan. Luckily, some clever underlings played dead and survived. Now, they'd secretly revived their queen. But when the zombie learned that vampires still existed in this world, he instantly shifted into his second form. All the presidents present were blown back by his aura. The ones who just mocked him as a small-time nobody, like President Steelrod, took the worst fall. The 2 who snapped out of it couldn't believe their eyes. What's wrong with this zombie? Why'd he suddenly explode? But Ziling and Xiao were already used to such scenes. Meanwhile, the zombie chuckled. Interesting. I remember. You should have been wiped out by me long ago. Since that's the case, then tell me, where's that Zhu Xiaohong who loved drugging me? Now where is she? The little vampire was on the verge of tears. Big bro, spare me. I just became a vampire yesterday. I don't know anything. Hearing this, the zombie finally let his killing intent fade, reverting to his first form. But this scene left President Steel Rod stunned for a year. No way. That commotion just now. It was caused by that small-time nobody. Did I just offend him too? Meanwhile, President Steelblade, hiding in the corner, was scared out of his wits. I knew I should have just rotted at home. Anywhere with the zombie is too dangerous. At that point, the zombie walked out from inside. Ziling and Xiao hurriedly ran over, asking how things went. Did the zombie find anything? And what's this vampire clan you mentioned? Facing their anxious questions, an unprecedented seriousness appeared on the zombie's face. Anyway, when you go out these next few days, you'd better be careful. Ziling and Xiao were instantly alarmed, their nerves on edge. But the next second, the zombie scratched his head awkwardly, saying, I forgot. This left everyone speechless, collapsing in exasperation. Ziling, furious, started yelling, you idiot. Can't you keep your brain straight when you transform? Facing the group's murderous glares, the zombie promised he'd remember next time. Meanwhile, President Steel Rod jumped up again. This zombie president really is a small-time nobody. But just then, the zombie turned and shot a glance. The terrifying pressure, making both of them tremble. At the same time, in an abandoned district, the mighty vampire queen was reduced to squatting on the street, exposed to wind and rain. She was even mistaken for a filthy beggar by ordinary humans. Seeing this, the queen exploded. We've fallen this low. Why'd you summon me out here? To be a beggar? Just then, a girl beside her burst into tears. Your Majesty, do you know how we've survived these 1,000 years? Ever since you lost that battle and were turned into a mummy by the zombie, he wiped out our entire clan. To survive, the few of us had to play dead to escape his wrath. Under the zombie's reign of terror, we've never dared show ourselves publicly for 1,000 years. Whether it's zombies or humans we encounter, we have to take the long way around. We haven't left this alley in a year. Look, Brother Lanling's practically turned into an idiot. The more the queen heard, the more absurd it sounded. Then what's the point of summoning me? Right now, I'm not even qualified to shave his fur. Just then, a man beside her finally spoke up. We revived you because we found someone who can make your Majesty invincible. The girl nearby chimed in. Hearing this, the queen's eyes flashed with dread. Quick, tell me, who is it? Then, the man pulled out a photo of Dr. Jimming, saying, it's him. He can make your majesty invincible. What could it be? That even the zombie feared. The vampire queen was so terrified she nearly lost her mind. It turned out that just moments ago, a vampire underling suggested breaking into prison to rescue Dr. Jimming. Afterward, an image of Dr. Jimming appeared before the zombie, and looking at the tied-up Dr. Jimming on the screen, the zombie was puzzled. Why not just get rid of him? Ziling replied, not yet. We need to root out all the spies he planted among us, completely, plus his anti-human research data. We need to find it and destroy it all. The zombie asked again without thinking, aren't you worried he'll escape like this? Hearing this, President Shield immediately burst into mocking laughter. Tied up like this, where could he possibly run to? Up to the sky? Since President Jiang caught him, why not take President Jiang to see for himself? With that, they all boarded a helicopter together and arrived at the cage holding Dr. Jimming to imprison Dr. Jimming. They dug a 3,000-meter deep prison overnight, with a total of 1,500 levels. The troop deployment reached a staggering 1 million. Even taking the elevator would take 30 minutes to reach the bottom. Anti-aircraft guns, laser cannons, and every heavy weapon imaginable were fully stocked. Even so, this was just the appetizer. Beyond that, every 100 levels had 2 presidents stationed as guards. With this level of defense, how could he escape? Seeing this, the zombie fell silent. To be extra cautious, they strapped a massive exhaust pipe bomb to Dr. Jimming. Its explosive power was equivalent to 10,000 tons of TNT. If anyone got close, it would detonate instantly. President Steel Rod grew more excited as he explained. Even if someone fearless came to break him out, worst case, we all die together. No matter what. Even if a god showed up, they'd have to take a corpse back with them. Hearing this in his base form, the zombie felt a chill run down his spine, breaking out in a cold sweat. When humans go crazy, how are they scarier than me? With that, he bolted off at full speed, leaving behind a "you guys are nuts" before vanishing. Meanwhile, in an alley on the other side, they were watching President Steel Rod's explanation video. The vampire queen was so scared she froze in shock. These disgusting humans have no shame, even rigging a self-destruct device. At the same time, President Steel Rod smirked playfully at himself. Inspector Chen went to check out President Jiang's city. You really not gonna warn your little boyfriend? Ziling exploded at this. You're his boyfriend. Your whole family's his boyfriend. He's going, so why tell me? President Steel Rod continued. The Grand President snitched to Inspector Chen, saying President Jiang's not only a zombie, but built a lion city too. Of course, whether he's a zombie or not, I don't care. With that, he smirked disdainfully again and said, I only respect the strong. Though Ziling verbally refused, her hands honestly pulled out her phone to call the zombie. Calling. Meanwhile, on a city street somewhere else, the oblivious zombie strolled leisurely, marveling to himself. This human city is so bustling. Oh no. The zombie really panicked. Raising zombie subjects in a human city had completely gotten out, and he, just appointed president, was about to be sacked. It turned out that just moments ago, when Ziling learned President Steelblade had tattled to Inspector Chen, saying the zombie built a lion city to raise zombies, she immediately called to warn him. Ziling said with a serious face, Inspector Chen is heading to your city right now. He's our province's auditor, specializing in reviewing president's lifestyle. If he finds out your situation's real, he'll immediately strip you of your presidency. The zombie broke out in a cold sweat, but stubbornly insisted, I'm actually human. As soon as he spoke, Ziling's furious shouts came through. Don't think I don't know what's running around your city streets. You know damn well whether they're human. She hung up right after. The zombie stood there, speechless like a zombie. But the next second, he panicked. If this gets found out, I'm totally screwed. What do I do? What do I do? The zombie was so frantic he nearly rolled on the ground. Just then, his eyes seemed to spot a lifeline. Looking at a table full of cosmetics, the zombie hatched a bold idea. At the same time, Inspector Chen arrived at the zombie's city. He snorted coldly. No one surnamed like that deserves to be president. I've got to get this guy named Jiang sacked. Meanwhile, in Dr. Jimming was tied to a 10,000-ton TNT bomb. Mushroom Head beside him broke down crying. Brother Ming, we're done for. But Dr. Jimming didn't panic. He even chuckled, still obsessing over the zombie's genes. Mushroom Head was dumbfounded beside him. We're about to be executed. What's the point of that? Dr. Jimming calmly replied, they won't. Not until they get my research data. Before this, I already sent someone to hide it, in a place even I can't find. These idiots will regret not killing me now. Mushroom Head continued. The zombie's too strong. Forget getting his genes. How do we create something stronger than him? That's the real challenge. Dr. Jimming flashed a creepy smile again. All I need is a vessel that can hold the zombie's genes, and I can make it happen. Forget research for now. This is the world's strongest prison system. We're just ordinary people. How do we escape? But Dr. Jimming wasn't fazed by escape plans. He already had a direction in mind. Just then, someone wheeled in a food cart. The man dropped off a smart feeding robot and the meal, then left immediately, leaving only the robot behind. It activated its auto-feed function. Mushroom Head beside him panicked, about to warn that the food might be poisoned. But before he could, Jimming was already chowing down, after swallowing the food. Suddenly, a listening device appeared in his mouth, hidden along the cliff-like wall. At the same time, he whispered, "Where's the new Lion King's corpse being held?" His voice instantly reached the ears of the man who delivered the meal. Bing's in the mountain lab on the 200th level, guarded by 2 grand presidents right now. Hearing this, Jimming immediately flashed a sinister smile. "Just do as I say. Make sure to guard our vessel well." A group of zombies who'd lived for thousands of years were now earnestly studying human makeup. They went straight from ugly ducklings to human forms even the 6 elites couldn't touch. It turned out that just moments ago, when the zombie learned Inspector Chun was coming to inspect his city, he panicked instantly. Luckily, just then, he spotted cosmetics on a nearby counter. Without a word, he loaded all the makeup into trucks and hauled it back to his city. Looking at the courtyard full of trucks, Xiao He and Amao were utterly confused. At that moment, the zombie returned to his city with a serious face, then explained the whole situation to Xiao He in detail, telling him to distribute the stuff and have the zombies disguise themselves. Otherwise, if Inspector Chen finds out we're zombies, they'll take our city back. Hearing this, Xiao He immediately issued orders nervously. Go to Area Lang, head to Area C. Move fast and look cool. Anyone who doesn't want to go back to living in ruins, keep your facial expressions in check. Once the orders were given, everyone sprang into action, one by one. None of them wanted to return to that ruined city. Moments later, Xiao He and Go started applying the makeup too. Though they weren't sure if it'd work, they trusted the king had his reasons. Meanwhile, in the city center, zombies who'd received the orders came to pick up makeup and started applying it. 1 second, they were pitch black zombie forms. The next, they turned into human forms. Even the 6 elites couldn't rival. This shocked a nearby little zombie so much, he blurted out a national curse. At the same time, a Mao and a Lang, having relayed the orders, turned to the office. Seeing Xiao He and a Go already disguised, a Mao and a Lang's worldview shattered. Xiao He's still passable, but a Go, your makeup's way too over the top. But what about us? Xiao He grinned darkly. Then you'll just have to suck it up for now. Right after, Xiao He leashed a Mao and a Lang like dogs. Hey, we're all zombies. Why do we have to be the pets? Weren't you pets in life anyway? Here they were, anxiously awaiting Inspector Chun. But on the other side, Inspector Chun had already arrived in the city. To avoid detection, he didn't take a plane, but opted for a train instead. This way, he could bypass the higher-ups and investigate from the ground up, making it easier to spot the zombie slip-ups. Seeing Inspector Chen's sour face the whole way, his subordinate Xiao Lele started whispering among themselves. Why doesn't Inspector Chun like the zombie? Isn't it because the zombie's timid and spineless, with no personality? Except for the minister, Chen's biased against everyone. Those words naturally reached Inspector Chen's ears. So what if I'm biased against him? Ever since the minister delegated power, any random cat or dog can become a president. Only someone with that commanding, sole ruler aura deserves to lead humanity to prosperity. That kind of dominance. That's what a leader should have. Meanwhile, the zombie was casually eating fruit on the other side, only to get caught in the crossfire. After 2.5 years, the zombie snapped again, hoisting a heavy truck and nearly smashing Inspector Chun into pulp. Just half an hour earlier, Inspector Chun had started secretly investigating with his team. The zombies' underlings behind him, however, were chattering about the minister. Logically, the minister went on an expedition. He should be back soon, right? Meanwhile, Xiao He and the others waited for the plane to land, but Inspector Chun never showed. Xiao He, with an IQ of 650, immediately sensed something was off, but for now, they could only keep waiting. On the other side, the investigation team began their operation. Walking into a convenience store, they directly asked if there were any egg-related videos. The owner broke into a cold sweat, quickly turning away, pretending to be deaf and blind. Little Kalami, with an IQ of 250, didn't suspect a thing, assuming the owner was deaf and mute. Then on to the second shop. I'd like to ask, since President Jiang became the city's top dog, has there been any oppression? The young guy quickly explained. The king's been great to us. Free housing and free eggs to eat. But the next second, his right hand fell off. Looking at the severed hand still posing victoriously, little Kalami was stunned for a whole year. Bro, your hand fell off. Before he could react, the little zombie bolted off, leaving behind. It's a prosthetic. Don't mind it. This move left everyone present dumbfounded. Inspector Chun was so mad he cursed. Freaks. Today I've seen it all. There are people as dumb as the zombie. Even so, he didn't suspect they were zombies. He just thought the zombie had built a city full of lunatics. He immediately ordered his team to record it all. This is all ammo to oust the zombie. Meanwhile, inside the zombie's building, the zombie squatted alone in a corner, seemingly deep in thought. Just then, a Go appeared. What's going on? A soldier explained. After President Jiang ate something, he turned like this, kept babbling nonsense, and his whole body's trembling. Hearing this, a Go was completely baffled. A Go was startled upon hearing this. What did you feed the king? Seeing Ago on the verge of losing it, the soldier quickly explained, President Jiang came back saying he was starving, so I made him some spicy stir-fried eggs. Ago instantly broke into a cold sweat. The king can't eat that stuff. The soldier looked puzzled. What happens if he does? It's the king's stimulant. He'll get insanely violent. And it'll last a whole month. Meanwhile, Xiaohe got a call from Ago. Xiaohe's face drained of color instantly. Didn't I hide all the peppers? I don't know how they found them. What do we... Xiaohe stood there, dumbfounded. Telling me won't help. I don't know what to do either. At that moment, Agon beside him asked Xiaohe, if the king goes berserk, will he slaughter the whole inspection team? Possibly, very possibly. At the same time, Inspector Chun was preparing to head to the next investigation spot, but as he looked up, he saw a heavy truck hurtling straight toward him. The next second, a loud boom echoed, and the zombie made a grand entrance. Inspector Chun, narrowly escaping, nearly wet himself. What the hell just happened? That was a damn truck? At that moment, the zombie glared at Inspector Chun with a menacing grin. Next, I'll take you on a tour myself. The zombie on peppers was terrifying. Even Inspector Chun was lifted off the ground by him. Then he hauled him straight into the air. Facing the zombie descending from the sky, the group was baffled. What just happened? Who's that guy? At that moment, the zombie stood atop the truck, staring down like a grim reaper. Watching this terrifying yet unfamiliar figure, Inspector Chin stumbled back in fear. Who the hell are you? The zombie smirked eerily. I'm the zombie you're looking for. Forgotten me already? Those words stunned them all. What? You're the zombie? But I remember you didn't look like this. The zombie jumped down from the truck. Just took off my mask. Got a problem with that? He strode right up to Inspector Chun, scaring him into retreating and yelling, stay back. The zombie then said, to welcome Inspector Chun, we've specially prepared some top-quality spicy egg cans for you. Enjoy. With a snap of his fingers, several little zombies marched in neatly, carrying the cans. The zombie leaned close to Inspector Chen's ear, whispering, don't worry, we don't eat people. That line nearly made him faint from fright. Before he could overthink it, the zombie hoisted him up again, with a brief wind-up. He squatted and said, the suburbs aren't worth checking. Let's head somewhere livelier. With that, he leapt, instantly carrying Inspector Chun into the air. His underlings were dumbfounded by the sight. What the hell is that? He can jump that high? At that moment, Inspector Chun, airborne, looked miserable. Where the hell are you taking me? Seeing this, Xiao He and the others were horrified. The king's over there. Hide quick. Meanwhile, the zombie had already brought Inspector Chin downtown. With a bang, they landed on a rooftop. The zombie then lifted Inspector Chin up. Look, this is my city. Over 2 million square kilometers. With new districts ready for expansion. High-end white-collar workers, listed companies, construction industries, and workers. Every job and position you can think of. We've got it all. This city alone can bring you billions in taxes. With that, he leapt off the roof with Inspector Chin again. Now let's talk about security. At this point, Inspector Chin looked utterly hopeless. Just flung into the sky, now dropped in the middle of the road, facing an oncoming car. The zombie just grinned creepily. We've always followed laws and regulations. If someone breaks the rules, we just kick them away. Then, to Inspector Chen's shock, the car was booted into a distant Pentagon building. Onlookers blurted out a stunned curse. Inspector Chin suddenly accused the zombie of murder. The zombie smiled faintly. Murder? That's not a thing. First off, they're not human, even if they were. My crew's got mad skills. No citizens dying on our watch. They ended up in the middle of the road, where Inspector Chin's team came running over. Seeing this, the zombie finally let Inspector Chin go. Looking at the reunited trio, the zombie walked back to his side with a dark expression. He then flatly told Inspector Chun, I know why you're here. But after I let you go today, no matter the outcome, this city's mine. Not even Jesus can stop me. I've spoken. The brash young Inspector Chun dared to challenge the zombie's authority. It turned out that just moments ago, after warning Inspector Chun not to meddle in his affairs, the zombie's terrifying pressure made them tremble uncontrollably. For a moment, the entire street fell into a deathly silence. Then, a subordinate whispered, maybe we should head back. My legs are numb. Yeah. This pressure, it's not human-like at all. This guy's less human than the minister. Looking at the zombie's saintly smile, the two underlings were paralyzed with fear. Who said he was timid and weak? I'd kill that bastard. As the zombie walked back after warning them, he said, get out of here, before I change my mind. But just then, Inspector Chin called out to him, though your city management skills are impressive, as a president, beyond managing a city, you need strong combat ability to protect it. But from start to finish, I haven't seen any power in you to protect this city. At those words, the zombie stopped in his tracks. Xiao He and the others jumped in fright. And the next second, they rushed over to cover Inspector Chin's mouth. But no matter how hard they tried, it was futile. The zombie slowly turned around, flashing a wicked smile. So, you want to see my true strength? Those words left Xiao He and the others stunned. Living for thousands of years, it's the first time I've seen a human so eager. Soon after, the zombie took them to a nearby sea. By now, Xiao He was sweating bullets. And Ago muttered, I've got a bad feeling. The zombie gazed at the sea in silence, the atmosphere growing eerily tense. The clueless Inspector Chen curiously asked, "Why do you bring us here?" But as soon as he spoke, he saw the zombie's grim reaper-like silhouette, reflected on the water. A Go leaned in. "Warning, if something happens soon, you're on your own. It's got nothing to do with us." Inspector Chen was shocked by those words. But as he pondered their meaning, his subordinate suddenly noticed the nearby rocks starting to float. Then, those rocks gathered around the zombie. The next second, the spirited zombie's third form appeared before them all. This sudden shift left the trio dumbfounded. What the hell is this thing? It can transform? Here it comes. It's coming. The zombie's ultimate strike was terrifying. With just one punch, Earth triggered a level 12 tsunami. It even threatened humanity's survival. Just moments ago, the aura the zombie unleashed froze everything around them instantly. Seeing Jiangxi's soul ruler vibe, the group behind him collapsed in fear. What's he about to do now? The next second, the zombie leapt, blasting them all away. Luckily, a Go grabbed one of them, but Inspector Chen crashed face first into the ground. By the time they recovered, the zombie had vanished from sight. Little Kalami stammered in shock. "Where'd your president go?" A Do hauled over a telescope, and Inspector Chen peeked through, stunned for a year. The view showed Mars, with the zombie standing firmly on its surface, overlooking Earth. Inspector Chen was floored by the sight. "This is insane. Even with planets and the moon between us, I can still see the raging war." In his eyes, "This is too ridiculous. Can an Earth creature do this?" Then the zombie waved his hand grandly, clenching his fist with all his might. The next second, he unleashed his ultimate punch toward Earth. This didn't just stun little Kalami. Even Xiao He and the others screamed in terror. The next second, a Go scrambled to set up defenses, but even so, the shockwave warped Inspector Chen's face. The next second, the zombie's attack slammed into the Pacific, and in an instant, a tsunami surged tens of thousands of feet high. Even Ziling and the others in H City were blasted by this sudden energy. Before they could recover from the shock, a level 12 tsunami warning blared. Then, Ziling and crew, bewildered, turned on the news, only to see a colossal tsunami rolling in. It swept toward them, leaving the baffled duo in utter shock. "Holy crap, is this the end of the world?" Just then, another alert sounded. "Level 12 tsunami threatens human development. Activate Tier 1 contingency plan." The next second, walls thousands of feet high shot up from the ground. But even then, they could barely hold back the tsunami's force. Meanwhile, off a certain sea, a boom rang out. Jiangxi returned to Earth in a cool pose. He turned to the group and asked, "Now, have you seen my strength?" The new generation Little Lion King awakened again, and right upon revival, it blasted the 3,000-meter deep prison. Following Dr. Jimming's orders, it killed humans to break him out. Just after the zombie showcased his power and returned to Earth, the sky and sea changed color instantly. The usually stubborn Inspector Chen crumpled to his knees in terror, collapsing on the ground, facing this grim reaper-like figure, staring at him. He hopped in a car and sped off without a word, watching the car fade into the distance. Go let out a soulful sigh. Did we go too far? Will they take our city back? But clearly, his worries were unnecessary. Inspector Chen returned from the zombie city, mentally unhinged, taking a hands-off stance toward the zombie-run city. Meanwhile, in the 3,000-meter deep prison, a president stared at a little zombie on the lab table, sighing in awe. That zombie's unreal. He can even handle something this terrifying. And then there's Dr. Jimming. That guy created something so horrifying. It's like he's playing God. If only he'd contribute to humanity. Then how powerful humanity could become. And right as they were discussing whether the little zombie was still alive, the lab coat behind them had already started preparing a secret biochemical liquid. According to Dr. Jimming, the new Lion King's consciousness merely faded, but its body remains intact, as long as we mix CH247 with the base solution, in a 7-to-1 ratio. Then find a chance to inject it into the new Lion King's body. We can revive a new Lion King. Just as a certain president let his guard down, preparing to step out for a patrol, the lab coat suddenly injected the liquid into the new Lion King's body. The clueless duo blurted out a stunned curse. Snapping to his senses, the president slammed the lab coat against the wall, yelling, "What the hell did you do?" But before he could get an answer, the golden Lion King suddenly opened its eyes, and then promptly blew up the lab. In an instant, the entire prison blared its alarms. The presidents on the other floors stood there, dumbfounded. What the hell just happened? As the smoke cleared, the new generation zombie king. At the same time, Dr. Jimming's voice echoed in his mind. "Kill them all. Get me out of here. I'll make you as powerful as the zombie." A vampire queen from ancient times had now arrived at a human prison, solely to break out the human traitor, Dr. Jimming, and enlist his help to defeat the zombie. Meanwhile, on a plane hovering above the prison, the door was suddenly kicked open. Then a man wielding an AK took control of all the passengers, even hijacking the pilot. At that moment, the fierce vampire queen suddenly appeared at the cabin door. A subordinate rushed to report. They've rigged Dr. Jiaming with a self-destruct device. Should we devise a more detailed battle plan? The queen's eyes turned icy. No need. If I can't handle these petty human tricks, how can I be your queen? Besides, to deal with brutes, you just have to outbrute them. As soon as she spoke, everyone leapt from the plane, charging straight for the prison's breach. The president below looked up, startled out of his wits, but he quickly snapped to, "Holy crap, it's a jailbreak. Set up defenses now." In an instant, gunfire erupted throughout the prison, plunging it into chaos. However, these ordinary weapons couldn't inflict the slightest harm on the vampires. At that moment, one of the presidents shouted in a panic, "Don't freak out. We've still got 30 presidents. They can't break through." Meanwhile, President Steele on the 500th floor was equally flustered. What the hell is going on? These days, people actually dare to stage a prison break. At the same time, at the prison's breach, the vampire queen looked down with disdain. "You think you puny grunts can stop this queen? Wipe them out." Meanwhile, at the prison's bottom level, a president was beaten senseless by the Little Lion King, who then bypassed him. To reach Dr. Jiaming's cell, the Little Lion King glared defiantly. "I hate you. Did you think I'd save you? Your death matters more to me than the zombies." Dr. Jiaming snorted coldly. "Don't think that without the zombie, you're invincible. I may be a mere human, but don't forget, I created you. Your life or death is in my hands. Playing tricks in front of me. You're still too green." The king bristled with rage, but was helpless. "No worries though. Help me fulfill my dream of wiping out humanity, and I'll end myself willingly." The Little Lion King thought it a decent deal. "But you said you'd make me as strong as the zombie. Is that true?" Dr. Jiaming's eyes narrowed. "I guarantee I'll keep my word." The voluptuous vampire queen finally met Dr. Jiaming, and her first words upon meeting were an offer to let him study her body. Just moments ago, after the queen led her crew into the underground prison, both sides clashed fiercely. Facing this sudden chaos, several presidents wore grim expressions. "Who the hell are you people? What are you doing here?" The vampire crew sneered, and the queen spoke coldly. "I'll give you two choices. Hand over Dr. Jiaming, and live or don't, and I'll show you my power." As she President Steel Rod bristled, charging at the queen with his steel rod. Then Grand President, he flanked her from both sides, surrounding the queen. But in an instant, the Grand President's arm was knocked clean off, crashing to the prison's bottom floor. The group was beaten to the ground, unable to move, not even seeing what hit them. The guards watching this shivered, and once they snapped out of it, they quickly aimed their guns at the vampire queen. They pulled the triggers, unloading a barrage at her. But the queen smirked dismissively, standing still as bullets pelted her body. Even shots to her eyes didn't scratch her. She extended an arm with contempt. "Looks like human tech isn't all that." With that, she unleashed her energy, blasting the soldiers to ash. Meanwhile, in Dr. Jiaming's cell, Dr. Jiaming and his group had vanished. At that moment, the Little Lion King was leading Dr. Jiaming out of the cell. Mushroom Head looked puzzled. "Didn't they say it'd explode on contact? Why are we fine? There's a 2-second window after a power cut. No device is 100% flawless." At that moment, looking at the freshly revived Mushroom Head wore a worried frown. "He's already this strong. You want to make him stronger? With his arrogant streak, I'm worried it'll backfire." Dr. Jiaming wasn't fazed. Besides him, there's no better vessel anyway. The moment they stepped out of the cell, the Little Lion King froze at the sight before him. In front of him lay a field of soldiers' corpses. Even the strongest presidents, beaten to a pulp, unable to move. Even Dr. Jiaming and Mushroom Head were stunned. What the hell happened here? Just then, a woman's figure emerged silently. The vampire queen appeared before them with commanding presence. The instant they saw her, Dr. Jiaming panicked, and even the Little Lion King felt an overwhelming pressure. At that moment, the queen spoke calmly. "Dear Dr. Jiaming, a runt who can't even touch the zombie's hair doesn't deserve to be your vessel. Why not study my body instead? I promise I'll be your proudest creation." The vampire ghost queen, known for reasoning, now traded blows with the Little Lion King, not only smashing his face with one punch, but also instantly neutralizing a 10,000-ton nuke on the brink of detonation, then crushing it into a Japanese-style breakfast. And that wasn't all. The freshly awakened Little Lion King was knocked out again by her, his consciousness fading once more. The Ghost King, who'd just strutted in, taunted the Little Lion King outright. "He's weak. As a man. How can he stand such humiliation?" He sneered coldly. "So you're saying you're stronger than me?" The Ghost King didn't flinch. "I'm not just a little stronger. Try me if you don't believe it." Before her words settled, the gap between them shrank to mere millimeters, and fists flew. Yet, the Little Lion King couldn't land a single hit, while the Ghost King slammed a heavy fist into his face. The onlookers froze in shock at the scene. Suddenly, the Ghost King hoisted the Little Lion King again, unleashing a staggering shockwave. The Little Lion King shot out like a wild horse, crashing through a wall dozens of meters away, only stopping when he smashed into a mountain. Feeling the Ghost King's power, the Little Lion King couldn't help but exclaim, She's got the same strength as the zombie. But eyeing the 10,000-ton nuke, he hatched a plan. He dug his feet into the ground, then surged backward with force, striking an attack pose. The onlookers gasped at his stance. Sensing trouble, he's not going to detonate the nuke, is he? Sure enough, the Lion King smashed the nuke with a heavy fist. Under his immense force, sparks flew from the nuke, on the verge of exploding. But like the zombie, the Ghost King slowly raised 5 fingers, her gaze piercing, before slamming her palm downward. The sparking nuke instantly reverted to normal. The little Lion King gaped in disbelief. What the hell kind of move is that? But the Ghost King didn't stop. She crushed the 10,000-ton nuke into a sandwich fit for a Japanese breakfast. And that wasn't all. The once arrogant little Lion King was now pinned to the ground by the Ghost King's overwhelming strength. From high above, he couldn't help but marvel. The little Lion King loved this land deeply, with a fierce devotion. The stunned onlookers added to their shock tally once more. Seeing the little Lion King so feeble, the Ghost King taunted. With this little strength, you dare call yourself a king? She grabbed his neck with one hand, lifting him up. Oh right, how did the zombie deal with you again? Hearing this, the little Lion King sensed danger. Could she be like the zombie? The Ghost King's brow furrowed suddenly, and in an instant, the little Lion King felt the vast gap in power between them. He jolted awake as if from a dream, his jaw dropping in awe. This terrifying strength matched the zombies. They must both be relics of a past civilization, but realizing this now was far too late. A murderous glint flashed in the Ghost King's eyes, and the next moment, she tossed the little Lion King like trash. He crashed hard to the ground, his consciousness fading once again. The 1,000-year bachelor zombie planned to take Ziling on a date and show her around his city. Ziling bolted at the thought, because just moments ago, the poor little Lion King, freshly revived, was scared to death again by Zhu Xiaohong. This move shattered the onlooker's sanity. At that moment, Zhu Xiaohong turned to Dr. Jimming. Excuse me, am I now worthy to be your vessel? With her murderous yet hopeful gaze, Dr. Jimming froze, then flashed a creepy smile. Yes, of course you are. Absolutely. Meanwhile, in the zombies' building, Ziling rushed into the zombie's office in a panic. It's urgent. Take me to your boss now. But at the door, she was stopped by the zombie's underling. Go. President Ziling. No way. It's not the time to see the king. It's too dangerous to meet him now. Why don't you come back later? Ziling frowned, confused. Danger? What danger? I don't know what you're talking about. Ignoring the warning, she barged into the zombie's office. Zombie, bad news. There's trouble. But the zombie sat there, sipping red wine casually. Oh, Ziling's here. Did you miss your king? Seeing the zombie like this, Ziling jumped in shock. Since when do you live like this? The zombie chuckled darkly, switching things up every now and then. Isn't it fun? By the way, what did you come to me for? Only then did Ziling snap out of it, panicking as she explained Dr. Jimming's escape. But the zombie wasn't the least bit surprised. Isn't that pretty normal? After all, you losers are no match for Zhu Xiaohong. At those words, Ziling was shocked again. This just happened less than 10 minutes ago. How do you already know? Of course I sensed it. I felt Zhu Xiaohong unleash her bloodline power. Ziling's jaw dropped in astonishment. It was her first time hearing about something called bloodline power. She immediately prepared to leave, to report this up the chain. But just then, the zombie grabbed her in a hug. Since you're here, don't rush off. It's been ages since I last coexisted peacefully with humans. How about we grab a candlelit dinner first, and then, I'll show you around my city? How's that? Those words terrified Ziling, and she shoved the zombie away in a hurry. What kind of tour are you talking about? Don't think I don't know what you did to Inspector Chun. With that, she frantically geared up to flee this chaotic place. But the zombie wasn't about to miss this rare chance for a solo date. He turned around, calling out to Ziling's retreating figure. Don't you want to learn about my bloodline power? At that, Ziling froze in her tracks. What? Your bloodline power? Yep, my bloodline power. Aren't you curious? With that, Ziling had no reason to refuse. Fine, I'll go on this date with you. But don't you dare try anything outrageous. Meanwhile, in a certain courtyard, a group of presidents was being rushed to emergency care. At that moment, the Grand President, with his last ounce of, gasped, Please, minister, do you know what it's like to date a 1,000-year-old zombie? To uncover the zombie's bloodline power, Ziling boldly accepted the zombie's date when she learned about the mystical abilities of this bloodline power. Even the worldly Ziling couldn't help but feel a slight shock. But just as she wanted to ask more about the side effects of this power, the zombie suddenly shifted from his third form back to his goofy original state. Furious, Ziling grabbed him by the collar. Bro, can't you finish talking before reverting? I ditched something major to come on this date with you, and now you're pulling this flip-flop nonsense. That's pretty irresponsible, you know? Change back now. But the zombie shrugged it off. Nope. Besides, I never said you had to come. You chose to. Those words pissed Ziling off so much, she ordered the waiter to bring 2 pounds of peppers. Unfortunately, Xiaohei had already destroyed all the peppers. Meanwhile, in a secret research base, Dr. Jimming was testing the vampire queen's body. The results he got left him stunned. Such perfect genes. This body defies science. At that moment, Zhu Xiaohong's underling grumbled impatiently. If you don't know what you're doing, don't mess around. Can the zombie's genes really work? Don't ruin our king's body. Mushroom Head, however, was brimming with confidence. Trust Dr. Jimming's research. He's the smartest human alive. Even Dr. Jimming chimed in. No problem at all. Though your king isn't human. I've had successful cases like this before. All we need now is the zombie's genes. The underlings froze. You're not saying we have to. Go pluck hairs off the zombie, are you? I'm not dumb enough to send you to your deaths. That eased their nerves a bit. But if we don't pluck his hair, what do? The zombie won't just hand it over. Mushroom Head grinned slyly, reaching into his pockets. This little problem doesn't stump me. He pulled out a small vial of mysterious green liquid from his pocket. This left the two underlings stunned for a year. How'd you get your hands on that? Turns out, Xiao Xiao had been bitten by the zombie, and fearing he'd turn, got tested. Dr. Jimming had a mole draw a vial of his blood during the checkup. The two underlings were speechless. Such sneaky humans. Guess spies really come through sometimes. Mushroom Head then pulled out a syringe. All right. Over the next 2 months, Lan Shi visited the hospital almost daily to check on the Grand President. But all the Grand President cared about was whether they'd sent out his message before he passed out. Did you do it? He asked. Lan Shi got serious. Don't worry. The second I got word, I sent it via satellite, marked as a red-level emergency. But man, you guys really screwed up. So many people, plus a voice-activated nuke. And that woman still walked off with the traitor. The Grand President sighed helplessly. This enemy's different from the ones before. The nuke went off, but she somehow suppressed it, like she's not even from this era. Lan Shi bristled but stayed focused. The message is out. The minister should have gotten it by now. Meanwhile, in an underground secret base, explorers let out a shocked gasp. Didn't expect this place to hide a whole city. And its civilization level wasn't low either. Too bad it's just ruins now. At that moment, a soldier received a transmission, quickly responding to it. He then reported to the dark figure ahead. Minister, sir. We've got an emergency. Oh no. The zombie's been put on a wanted list, and he's been wanted for over 1,000 years. Turns out, just moments ago, the soldier frantically reported Dr. Jimming's escape to the minister. But the minister stayed calm, showing no signs of panic, because right then, something far more pressing loomed before them. On the control panel sat a pitch-black figure, the remains of an ancient human, with 134 crushed bones, like some monster had smashed it to bits. Most terrifyingly, all its tissues had been replaced by ash, preserving it for a millennium. Now, it was just an empty shell, with no research value left. Another soldier, scanning, realized a massive battle had taken place here, and with such high-tech warships. Whatever fought here wasn't some pushover. Seeing the remains were useless. The minister didn't dwell on it, instead asking about the soldier's earlier report. The soldier spilled everything that had happened recently. In short, Dr. Jimming took a stroll through the prison and waltzed out. Most presidents were gravely injured, and their fighting strength was crippled. Basically, headquarters is in deep trouble right now. The minister immediately rallied his team. Get ready to head back and reinforce. But just then, a soldier spotted something. A pattern etched into the ground. Curious, he pressed it with his hand, and the next second, the underground base shook violently. Countless spheres materialized out of nowhere, encircling them. Then a cloaked figure appeared before them. The sudden figure startled the soldiers. The figure spoke calmly. It's my first time seeing humans with such robust bodies. The minister perked up, intrigued by this relic from 1,000 years ago. For a moment, they locked eyes. Tension thick. The figure spoke again. I can make you stronger, but you must swear to protect human civilization to the death. To grow stronger, the minister agreed without hesitation. And as a human, it was his duty. Just curious. How did your civilization fall? The figure projected another hologram, and instantly, the minister stared at it intently. The next second, the zombie's figure appeared in the light. Over 1,000 years ago, Earth had only 2 continents. Back then, it was split into 7 continents and 8 oceans, with over 100 nations. To achieve limitless power, humanity began pooling resources. Soon, they achieved interstellar travel, their tech reaching unprecedented heights. Back then, aliens could only take beatings from us, and even random monsters had to bow down as our lackeys. But the zombie, we could never defeat him. The two asked curiously, why not? The cloaked figure replied slowly, because of him. Ancient humans and modern non-humans teamed up to take down the zombie. To that end, the ancients gifted the minister their most advanced tech. Just moments ago, learning the zombie was the one who wiped out humanity over 1,000 years ago, the soldier's first thought was that this ancient was pulling their leg. After all, the zombie didn't look the least bit threatening, but the minister disagreed. First, ancients wouldn't joke like that, and second, since his birth, The zombie had always been around. Even the mini academies built were to combat the zombie. Sure, humans kept him in check, but they could never fully eliminate him. At that, the soldier had an epiphany. The minister asked, "So, Elder, how do we deal with such a terrifying creature?" Clearly, he wanted the ancient's help, but the ancient replied, "I'm just a virtual echo before dawn. I can't do much." Back then, we focused on knowledge and tech development, never realizing that training the body could reach such heights too. Your generation gives me hope. With your physical training methods and our ancient wisdom, you can definitely wipe out the zombie for good. As he spoke, a stone wall began to slide open, revealing a golden suit embedded with a sapphire. Seeing it, the minister and soldier's eyes lit up. Is this ancient tech? The figure spoke again. No matter what species emerge, in the end, the zombie is humanity's greatest enemy. With that, it vanished completely, leaving only the suit and the minister's group behind. The soldier quickly stashed the suit, and though the figure was gone, the minister bowed deeply toward where it had been, vowing, "We'll eliminate the zombie. We won't let you down." After all, he picked up the golden suit and inspected it closely. This tech, it's beyond anything we've ever seen. One soldier muttered, "If this can make us stronger, we might actually stand a chance." The minister nodded. "Get this back to base immediately. We need to analyze it and prepare." The team sprang into action, securing the suit for transport. As they moved out, the minister's mind raced with plans, knowing the zombie threat loomed larger than ever. The minister rallied his team to prepare to leave the area, and their first target was actually to deal with Dr. Jimming first. The world is so vast, finding a single zombie is like searching for a needle in a haystack. Meanwhile, Zilin received word that the minister was returning. She then notified all the cadres to prepare for a meeting, and even the zombie was expected to attend. The zombie jolted in surprise. "Who's this minister guy?" At that moment, inside Dr. Jimming's lab, a vampire underling squatted on the floor, looking glum. Now, the vampire clan's entire fortune amounted to just 1 copper coin. The vampire clan's grand steward felt like dying. A grand steward of the mighty vampire clan, working 10 jobs a day, yet still unable to feed this bunch. That last coin came from begging back in the day. Just then, an underling beside him came up with an idea. "We've got hands and feet. Why not start a side hustle?" On my way here, I spotted a bank. The people inside move slower than snails. It takes half an hour just to get a number. With our skills, we could wrap it up in 10 seconds. If we're fast enough, even rockets couldn't catch us. We grab the cash and bolt. I swear with my speed, nothing will go wrong. The steward's eyes lit up at that, immediately agreeing to the plan. Meanwhile, on the other side, Dr. Jimming stared at Zhang Xiaolong soaking in a vat of liquid, his face etched with tension. But the next second, he burst into wild laughter. It worked. It worked. Finally, it worked. He was once the grand steward of a clan, now reduced to praying daily just to get by. The whole clan's worth was a single coin. So, they decided to rob a bank to improve their lives, unaware they were targeting the zombie's bank. At that moment, on the streets of the zombie's city, Lan Ling and his crew had prepped everything. A black sedan rolled up slowly. Lan Ling, however, looked annoyed. Even driving here, they're so damn slow, and they want to be bank robbers. Still, he hopped in as planned. To ensure the plan went off without a hitch, they prepped ski masks and desert eagles. Seeing Lan Ling's worried face, an underling chimed in, "Don't worry, Lan Ling bro. I scoped it out. This time's got the fewest people, and robbing banks? We're pros." Meanwhile, in Xiaohei's office, Xiaohei was savoring his coffee with relish, while listening to his subordinate's financial report for the quarter. Though this month's total hit 435.6 billion yuan, Xiaohei still ordered a recount to ensure accuracy. After all, as the zombie's right-hand man, not a single cent could slip through the cracks. The finance team immediately got to work as instructed. At the same time, outside the zombie's bank building, Lan Ling led his crew, storming out of the car with fury. They charged straight into the building, unleashing a hail of gunfire. In the blink of an eye, they'd subdued everyone inside. Eyeing the stacks of cash behind the counter, Lan Ling gleefully stuffed it all into his suitcase. No more broke-ass days for us. But as he fled with his crew after the heist, on the other side, Xiaohei caught wind of the situation. Right then, a soldier rushed to Xiaohei in a panic, reporting the news. When Xiaohei learned the bank was robbed, he jolted in shock. At the same time, a sedan cruised slowly down the road. As Lan Ling gleefully counted his haul, a soul-shaking voice rang in his ear. Lan Ling. Lan Ling, mid-count, snapped irritably. "Who's calling me?" But when he saw who it was, and recognized that familiar pressure, he broke out in a cold sweat. Grabbing his underling, he demanded, "You idiot. Whose bank did you rob?" The underling looked innocent. "I don't know. I can't read." He then checked the signs on the spot, realizing it was the zombie's bank. Lan Ling's eyes rolled back, nearly fainting. He never imagined he'd screw himself over by his own kind. Trembling, he glanced out the window, followed by a scream. At that moment, Xiaohei switched straight into combat mode. Meanwhile, at Guangzhou Province HQ, a soldier saluted respectfully. Minister, sir. All the presidents are in place. We can start the meeting. The minister donned his armored helmet, ready to roll, with his command. A fleet of black sedans set off slowly. On the other side, Ziling, the zombie, and others had been waiting for a while. The strongest human and the zombie were about to meet. The first clash between two races in a millennium, all sparked by a single coin. The vampire steward, desperate to survive, resorted to bank robbery, unaware they'd hit the zombie's bank. And this scene was caught by Xiao He, the finance chief. Furious, Xiao He prepared to unleash hell. Lan Ling, seeing this, nearly wet himself, yelling at his crew, "Run, damn it." "What? You waiting for a medal?" He's the zombie's most mysterious lackey in 800 years. But enraged Xiao He wasn't about to let them off easy. "I don't care what your queen told you. If you want to live, give the money back." With that, he slammed a fist into the ground. In an instant, the entire building and all of H City quaked. Cars on the street broke free of gravity, floating into the air. Even office workers drifted up unconsciously. Seeing Xiao He's freakish power, the vampire crew was utterly dumbfounded. "This is freaking ridiculous." The driver piped up again, "Boss, all the cash we grabbed won't even cover your car repairs." But Lan Ling couldn't care less about repair costs now. He shouted at his crew, "Split up and run. Get back and report to the king. We messed up. I'll hold him off here." As he finished, his crew bolted from the car. Xiao He, unfazed, remained stone cold inside. "Not one of you is escaping today." Lan Ling bristled defiantly. "We're both stewards. Let's see just how tough you are." But as soon as he spoke, his face paled in a flash. Xiao He was right in front of him. "You think you're on my level?" With that, he swung a heavy fist right at Lan Ling's face. The punch's force blasted Lan Ling clean out of H City. His crew gaped in horror, screaming for help. At that moment, inside Guangzhou HQ, all the presidents stood in neat, respectful rows, facing forward. Before them stood the freshly returned minister. The minister spoke. "I've received word of Dr. Jimming's escape, but before that, there's something more pressing to discuss with you all." He shot a glance at a soldier nearby. Taking the cue, the soldier activated a device in his hand. The next second, a gleaming golden gauntlet appeared before them. Bang! President and Grand President gasped in shock. "What is this thing? Could it be the legendary golden right hand?" Amid their guesses, the minister explained, "This is ancient technology." At that, everyone's faces filled with disbelief. They'd heard of the ancient world, but only as rumors, let alone seeing ancient tech in the flesh. The minister added, "We got this from beneath a canyon pass, but aside from this suit, all other ancient info tied to it is gone." Hearing this, the presidents perked up excitedly. "With this ancient tech, Dr. Jimming, that weird vampire chick, they're nothing, right, Grand President Qin?" But the minister cut in. "We don't need this to deal with Dr. Jimming. This is for someone else." He then recounted what happened at the underground base. As his tale unfolded, the presidents' faces grew more incredulous. Ziling, stunned, voiced her doubts. The ancients were wiped out. Is there really such a terrifying creature on Earth? The minister insisted, no mistake about it. The ancients warned this monster's insanely dangerous, and told us to be extra careful. Little did he know, the ultra-dangerous creature he spoke of was quietly perched beside him, staring curiously at the golden gauntlet. It had just lashed out at its own underling, and it looked like a merciless blow. Turns out, just moments ago, upon learning that a monster wiped out ancient civilization 1,000 years ago, Lan Shi and Zilin were floored. Does such a monster really exist? Where is it now? The minister admitted, "I don't know. The ancients showed a clip, then just told us to stay sharp." Curious, the zombie piped up. "So how do you use this thing?" The minister replied, "Simple. Just put on the golden suit and press the middle button. We need to find this monster fast and take it down quick." The zombie's face turned serious, pledging, "I'll definitely help out." But just then, the minister realized he'd overlooked something. He whipped around to double-check, and spotting the zombie's blatant stare, he exploded, "You little..." He lunged for the golden suit, baffling the presidents and the zombie. At that moment, a mysterious figure streaked in from the distance. With a deafening boom, it smashed through the building, barreling straight for the meeting room. As the dust settled, they saw it was Lan Ling, blasted in by Xiao He's punch. Lan Shi and Zilin, witnessing this, were puzzled. What just happened? Before they could think too much, another figure flashed in from afar. Once they saw who it was, Xiao He charged in after Lan Ling. Eyeing the gaping hole Lan Ling had smashed through the door, Xiao He still wasn't satisfied. Lan Ling, dazed from the beating, mumbled, "Give me a thumbs up." The group then noticed Xiao He outside, Zilin gawking in shock. "Isn't that the zombie's underling? Why is he here?" Even the zombie grew stern. Xiao He's usually so composed. Why is he like this now? Just then, the minister's aide rushed out, shouting, "Attention, presidents. That guy out there isn't human. He's a zombie." Seeing a zombie strut in so boldly among humans, the presidents, humanity's elite, sprang into action, swarming Xiao He. "Stinking zombie, you're too cocky. Know where you are." But before he finished, Xiao He kicked him square in the teeth. Even the still-healing Grand President took a solid hit. In mere moments, the charging presidents were sent flying one by one. The brashest, Bang President, was blasted back into the meeting room. Xiao Xiao and Zilin, watching this, were stunned. What the hell just happened? The room fell into chaos. As Xiao He stood outside, glaring fiercely, ready to take on anyone who dared approach. Why do we always run into these tough bastards? And this guy, why does he feel stronger than that chainsaw freak from before? At that moment, Grand President and Bang President, already beaten down, were left speechless. Why are we always the ones getting hurt? Just then, around Xiao He, countless black particles suddenly erupted. Since you want to stop me from doing my job, then you can all go die. Curious, Xiao Xiao reached out to touch the black particles, but Ziling urgently shouted, "Stop! Don't touch those." But as everyone scrambled for a plan, the zombie zipped forward and appeared right in front of Xiao He, and, without mercy, landed a punch square on Xiao He's body. The fully enhanced vampire queen finally returned, kicking things off with a solar eclipse, and bellowing for the zombie to come out and face her wrath. Turns out, just moments ago, the minister was about to don the gauntlet to take down the zombie, but then Xiao He popped up out of nowhere. The human presidents were no match for him. But as Xiao He prepared to deliver a final blow to the presidents, the zombie sent him flying with one punch. The terrifying shockwave blasted everyone in the meeting room off their feet. Ziling, sturdy as ever, was dumbfounded. What the hell is this zombie up to now? The minister's aide was equally stunned. The zombie's strength is unreal. The minister decisively equipped the golden suit. The ancients were right. The presidents are like ants before him. Meanwhile, on the other side, the zombie had dragged Xiao He to a rooftop. Xiao He, still in shock, stammered, "King, what are you doing here?" The zombie cut straight to it. "You can't kill these people. This is the president's HQ. Our city exists because of them." Even so, Xiao He wasn't convinced, especially about that bloodsucker Lan Ling. Right then, the zombie sensed something off. A black tip appeared in the sky, soon swallowing the sun whole. The presidents gaped in shock at the sight, and a clueless soldier looked to the minister. But the minister admitted, "I've got no idea what's happening." The sun was quickly engulfed by the black, triggering a rare solar eclipse. Facing the sudden darkened sky, citizens panicked, but soon enough, they all stared up in awe. "Look. Someone's floating up there." That's right. It was the vampire queen, freshly upgraded by Dr. Jimming. The minister, seeing this, was intrigued. "Who's this now?" The presidents shouted in unison, "It's that woman. She's the one who took Dr. Jimming." At that moment, the newly enhanced queen brimmed with confidence. "Heh, I'm invincible now. Zombie, get out here and die." Meanwhile, her vampire minions arrived, spotting Lan Ling embedded in concrete. The queen barked, "Take them out and rescue Lan Ling." But as they charged the building, the minister wiped them out with ease. With a loud boom, another hole was smashed into the building. The queen, hunting for the zombie, noticed the commotion, but paid it no mind. Her sole focus was finding the zombie. She turned to the minister, "Human, I suggest you mind your own business." The minister shot back to his aide, "It's about to get messy. Evacuate the citizens from the city. Leave this to me." With that, he activated the golden suit's power and threw a punch at the queen. The queen, enraged by the hit, retaliated with a high kick, aimed squarely at the minister. Xiao Xiao and the others gawked, jaws dropped. This chick's that strong? And so direct? Meanwhile, the zombie and Xiao He caught wind of the chaos. "King, they're fighting. Should we help?" The zombie blocked Xiao He. "Let them fight. It's not our problem." This has got to be the wildest episode in this comic's history. Humans unlocking zombie mode en masse, and the first clash of three races, spanning a millennium. Turns out, just moments ago, the minister's battle with Zhu Xiaohong had kicked off. In an instant, the whole city became their battleground. After a single clash, the minister drew back, eyeing Zhu Xiaohong with disdain. "Since you're, I'll take you out first." Then the zombie. How much garlic did you eat to talk so big? You think you can handle the zombie?" Xiao Xiao and the others stayed calm hearing this. What's this got to do with President Jiang? As they pondered, the minister readjusted his stance, channeling the golden suit's full power for a decisive blow against Zhu Xiaohong. Zhu Xiaohong wasn't about to back down. With a flashy spin, she charged at the minister. In a flash, two figures sped toward each other. And in the moment they met, both struck their attack poses. Then, two earth-shattering attacks collided midair. The shockwave sent the onlookers flying, shattering distant buildings and cars. But as the smoke cleared, the once mighty golden suit was reduced to scrap metal. The minister was hurled into a distant building by Zhu Xiaohong. Under this blow, even humanity's strongest nearly lost his footing. Zhu Xiaohong, seeing this, sneered at the minister. "You think you can take on the zombie with that pitiful strength?" The minister ignored her, instead cursing at the wrecked golden fist. "What garbage ancient tech. All flash, no substance. Should have just fought her myself." Zhu Xiaohong piped up again, Gotta say, you're the toughest human I've seen in 1,000 years. If you'd lived back then. With this junk tech, who'd win might have been a toss-up. Too bad. With that, her body blurred, and the next second, she flashed in front of the minister, ready to deliver the finishing blow. But just then, Zhu Xiaohong sensed a fierce killing intent from behind. It was Zilin, now transformed, swinging a long blade at Zhu Xiaohong. Thanks to her quick reflexes, Zhu Xiaohong dodged Zilin's strike. The two locked eyes from a distance. Zhu Xiaohong grumbling. Who's ruining my fun now? Zilin hefted her blade, glaring down at Zhu Xiaohong. From now on, I'm your opponent. The scene left everyone floored. What the hell is going on? Meanwhile, a vampire minion tried rushing to save Lan Ling, only to be grabbed by the head by Xiao Xiao. Looking closer, Xiao Xiao had entered her enhanced state too. Zhu Xiaohong glanced over, a flicker of confusion on her face. Xiao Xiao held the vampire minion like a chick, boasting, anyone who doesn't like this video, they're next. In that moment, the three stood locked in a standoff. Can Zilin and Xiao Xiao beat the vampire queen? These women from rival races, jealous over a zombie, unleashed their second combat forms. Turns out, just moments ago, to save the presidents and the minister, Xiao Xiao and Zilin activated their enhanced combat forms to take on the vampire queen. The presidents watching were dumbfounded. What's happening? What did I miss while I was out? Though pinned by Xiao Xiao, the vampire minion remained defiant. We're both women. Don't underestimate me. With an elbow strike, she broke free from Xiao Xiao's grip, her body splitting into two clones. Xiao Xiao, caught off guard, gaped. What the clones? The minion snapped back. I'm not some small fry. Give me respect, or think I'm a pushover. Xiao Xiao smirked. Fine. Prove it. The minion leapt onto Xiao Xiao's head, but as her attack descended, Xiao Xiao's high kick sent her flying. Watching the minion soar midair, Xiao Xiao crouched low, limbs tensing, then launched upward, nailing the minion with another punch. The onlooker presidents were stunned for a year. When did Xiao Xiao get this badass? The battered minion stabilized herself midair, squeezing blood from her palm and shouting, blood clones. Instantly, her body spawned countless duplicates. Xiao Xiao, unfazed, scoffed, parlor tricks. What can they do to me? With pinpoint precision, she kicked the real body, dissipating all the clones in one blow. The minion was floored. Is this chick even human? Meanwhile, Zhu Xiaohong, with a flick of her finger, sliced the city in half. Ziling, not backing down, swung her blade, cleaving the president's HQ in two. This move baffled the presidents. That's insane. When did Ziling get this strong? Something's off about her today, like she's a different person. Zhu Xiaohong caught on. So you've been enhanced too. Too bad you're not the one I'm after. I'm here to settle a score with that zombie. She unleashed an unprecedented killing intent. I've waited 1,000 years for this. You're strong, but I could toy with you without breaking a sweat. So I suggest you leave. Don't get in my way. The presidents were stunned again. What's going on today? Everyone's acting like they've seen a ghost. But Ziling stood firm. I'll admit you're strong. Even now, I can't beat you. But to say you'll use that to take down that dimwit, I don't buy it. So, I'll show you something fun next. Zhu Xiaohong blinked. Something fun? Ziling's body began radiating a fierce aura, her eyes glowing red. Since you want to play, I'll play second form. Holy crap, holy crap. Zilin unleashed her second form. With one slash, she took out the vampire queen, shredding even her cells to bits. Just moments ago, Zhu Xiaohong, out for zombie vengeance, unleashed a millennium of pent-up power. But Ziling, the zombie's fangirl, refused to back down, risking everything to go all out. The presidents still gasped. She's unstoppable now. Zhu Xiaohong's body, shattered by the blow, dissipated into fragments in midair. The onlookers stood frozen. Did Zilin just enter? Xiao Xiao, grinning, clapped Ziling on the back. Nice one. The vampire minions, seeing their queen fall, scattered in panic. The minister, climbing from the rubble, muttered, guess we underestimated her. The city lay in ruins, the battle finally over. She activated her second form. As fragments of skin peeled off her face, Ziling grew increasingly frenzied. Seeing this, Lan Shi and Grand President wore looks of sheer terror. What is she doing? On the other side, Ziling flung her left hand back with force. In an instant, countless waves of terrifying energy surged toward her body. The nearly tangible pressure left the presidents struggling to breathe. Even the sturdy Zhu Xiaohong faltered. This situation, in 1,000 years, it's my first time seeing it. The next second, her pupils contracted sharply. Though Ziling stood still, an aura of unparalleled terror swirled around her, and she'd taken on a completely new appearance. Ziling, transformation complete, stared intently at Zhu Xiaohong. A faint, almost intangible pressure warped the air around them. This scene left everyone in the meeting room utterly dumbfounded. Meanwhile, Xiao Xiao grinned playfully as she glanced over. So it's not just me. Even Sister Ziling can shift forms. The zombie, however, remained calm, as if all this was within her expectations. At that moment, Zhu Xiaohong was seething with rage. Why do you people keep ruining my plans over and over? Ziling brushed off her muttering, instead closing in for an all-out assault. If you're whining about life, you might as well head home now. As Ziling's words landed, a blood-red sword materialized in Zhu Xiaohong's hand. The next second, she charged straight at Ziling. You're right. Weaklings don't. But all I want is to get revenge on that zombie. What's wrong with that? With a loud yell, she lunged at Ziling. Ziling didn't flinch, gripping her long blade with both hands. The next second, she struck directly. Or the chief enchants the weapon. Since that's the case, then get past me first before you go after the zombie. A heavy slash came down in 1 second. Both of them appeared behind each other at the same time. But as the camera zoomed in, it revealed Zhu Xiaohong had been cleanly split in half down the middle. At the same moment, countless fissures erupted within Zhu Xiaohong's body. Even more terrifyingly, even the cells inside her were shredded to pieces by this strike. The next second, Zhu Xiaohong's entire body exploded like fireworks. Some rejoiced, others mourned. The human presidents were stunned, but at least humanity had won the fight. On the vampire side, however, they all wept bitterly, crying out for their king. At that moment, a soldier reported, President Ziling sliced that woman's cells apart. Grand President, hearing this, was shocked for a whole year. What kind of joke is this? Lan Shi felt the same disbelief, but was more preoccupied with wondering why Zilin had become like this. Grand President, however, showed no expression, instead focusing intently on the battlefield. Sure enough, didn't show any joy of victory. Instead turning to where Zhu Xiaohong had fallen, as the leader of a race. I doubt you're this weak, right? Or are you planning to sneak attack me when I let my guard down? Sure enough, as Xiao Xiao finished speaking, the surrounding blood began to pulse. Then, the vampire queen's genes started to reassemble. The next second, countless streams of blood converged in the sky. Here it comes. The vampire queen is finally getting serious. With a mere wave of her hand, she could summon wind and rain. A casual strike could split the earth in two. And just moments ago, Zhu Xiaohong, caught off guard, was cleaved in half by Zilin. Just as everyone thought the battle was about to end, Zhu Xiaohong's flesh and genes began to reform. The next second, her bones and muscles regrew. And in mere moments, a more gallant Zhu Xiaohong stood before everyone. Zilin watched her quietly, her heart unmoved. The presidents spectating nearby were dumbfounded by this maneuver. Are these two even human? At the same time, the zombie sensed Zhu Xiaohong was about to get serious this time. With that, she pulled Xiao He to a new spot to watch, not forgetting to warn the presidents of the danger and urge them to evacuate. But this move earned her a harsh scolding from Lan Qi. At the same time, Zilin finally spoke. That dimwit said you're a 1,000-year-old monster. Sure enough, you can't be judged by normal standards. At those words, the minister froze for a moment, then once again activated the golden suit. Zombie. It's the zombie again. This time, I'll wipe you all out. Meanwhile, Zhu Xiaohong was thoroughly pissed off. With a slight gesture, dark clouds instantly filled the sky, as if the heavens themselves bowed to her. Qi Wei was no less impressive than the zombie. Her gaze locked fiercely onto Zilin. Come on, keep playing. Zilin, seeing this, stared back with equal intensity, immediately striking a combat pose. Fine, let's play. Today it's you or me. At the same time, Jiangxi and Xiao He moved to a safer spot to watch, with Lan Qi dragging the presidents along. At that moment, Zilin charged at Zhu Xiaohong with a fierce leap. Zhu Xiaohong, unfazed, slashed several times in front of her. In an instant, countless energy slashes tore through the building ahead, blades of pure force. The next second, the building was shredded to pieces. Ziling, seeing the swords, stayed calm, raising her blade, and cleaving the obstructing structure in two, charging straight at Zhu Xiaohong again. After their first clash, Ziling couldn't match Zhu Xiaohong and took a fist to the face. She quickly pulled back, immediately striking a counterattack pose. The next second, Ziling swung her long blade with full force, slashing down at Zhu Xiaohong. This scene left Lan Qi and the others so shocked they nearly drew their swords, while the zombie watched the fight with an appreciative gaze, even thinking their attacks could use some polish. As Zilin's mighty strike swung forth, the dark clouds in the sky dissipated, and the city before them was cleaved in half by her blade. The resurrected Ghost King was terrifying beyond measure, not only dodging Ziling's full-force strike with ease, but also piercing Ziling's body with a single thrust, while the two fought fiercely. A familiar voice suddenly rang in the minister's ear. Then, branches inexplicably sprouted in Lan Xion's heart. An earth-shattering force emerged just moments ago. With a blinding flash before everyone's eyes, Senior Zilin unleashed a terrifying slash from below, its immense power splitting the entire blue star in two. But the Ghost King flipped 180 degrees, effortlessly dodging the lethal blow, reappearing unscathed. Tens of thousands of meters in the sky, the enraged onlookers gasped in disbelief. This is absurdity opening the door for absurdity. Absurdity taken to the extreme. Lan Qi furrowed her brow, She's still not dead after that. Meanwhile, the minister was wrestling with his metal wound. Why won't this damn glove come off? At that moment, a beam of light landed atop a high-rise again. A closer look revealed Ziling, grim-faced, sprawled on the building's surface. The Ghost King soon followed. Even with your second form, what can you do to me? With that, she executed a splits kick, knocking Ziling's blade away, while landing a heavy blow. She then struck Ziling's blade again with force. The weapon, now empowered by the Ghost King, hurtling toward Ziling. As Ziling crashed into the building and recoiled, her own sword plunged deep into her body. It smashed toward a steel beam. The two presidents witnessing this couldn't help but wince. The Ghost King gazed at Ziling, pinned to the building, expressionless. Ziling seemed lifeless at that moment. But the next second, she slowly pulled the blade from her abdomen, saying as she did, "True. I can't do much to you, but with my own immortal body, what can you do to me?" The Ghost King's brow furrowed at her words. This woman's damn hard to kill. Lan Shi, seeing this, couldn't sit still anymore, grabbing the zombie. "What did you do to Ziling?" "I want it too," but the zombie brushed her off. "It's too violent that way." Just then, the minister's infinity gauntlet flared up again, and he felt his cells slowly being altered by it, gradually transforming. A voice from the ancients rang in the minister's ear once more. "I'll be borrowing your body for now." While the minister was still dazed, a massive surge of energy shot skyward. Everyone's attention was drawn by the deafening sound. Turning to look this way, the zombie, Bence, was full of questions. What the heck is this now? The next scene left everyone on site dumbfounded, because at that moment, descended from the sky, followed by a deep voice laughing. "Huh, I'm back." The minister's devotion was met with betrayal from the ancients. After the ancient revived and transformed, he emerged in golden battle armor. The zombie and ancient's millennium-spanning was about to unfold again. This forced the zombie to unleash her third form once more. Just moments ago, with a thunderous roar shaking the earth, a massive steel behemoth landed on Blue Star. Instantly, the city sky seemed to lose its sun. Everyone gazed at the colossal object above, sinking into thought. But in an instant, the buildings before them were sent flying. The zombie, watching the giant rocks soar beneath her, was startled. But then, she darted between the massive stones, single-handedly helping everyone escape the area. Just as she prepared to leap upward, a demonic claw unexpectedly stretched from the sky, treating her like prey in its grasp. The giant claw tightened instantly, gripping the zombie firmly. The duo who'd been fighting earlier, the OP pair, snapped their heads around. A steel giant, half the size of Blue Star, stood towering over the planet. Atop the steel giant's head, a faint figure stood. Barely visible, yet unmistakable. A closer look revealed it was the minister who'd been practicing Iron Mountain Lean earlier. The minister demanded of the ancient once more, "What's the point of all this?" The ancient merely chuckled, telling him, "This is all for humanity. Your sacrifice is worth it." With that, the minister glowed brilliantly. In the next scene, left everyone present gaping in horror. The minister now stood, transformed into a radiant golden warrior, perched atop the steel giant's head. But Zilin suddenly grew puzzled, noticing that the earlier demonic claw seemed to be held up by something. It was the zombie, struggling at the mech's fingertips, holding on desperately. Seeing this, the enraged OP duo charged at the mech's main body. Together, they unleashed a full-force strike, but with a deafening boom. Their attacks were deflected, and they were instantly twisted into knots by the energy. The ancient mocked them. "We've studied the zombie's genes for centuries, and you two women use it like a stimulant? How shallow." The zombie, still beneath the fingertips, activated her second form, spinning in place with the magic of love, whirling like a tornado. The next moment, the mech's entire arm began spinning like a whirlwind. The mech's main body grew puzzled, but the zombie brimmed with excitement, racing up the arm. Just as she neared its shoulder, a thunderous boom rang out again. The mech slapped its own arm. The mech's body declared, "1,000 years. I've finally caught up to you, zombie. What are you waiting for? Show your true form." Before the words settled, the zombie slowly lifted the mech above her head, a slight smirk curling her lips. She then unleashed her long-dormant third form. Here it comes. The zombie versus ancient battle heats up again, forced into her third form. The ancient summoned a wooden clone in response, but after one round, the zombie was blasted to the moon with a single punch. Freshly transformed into her third form, she sent the ancient tech's giant hand flying with one blow. This stunned Zhu Xiaohong nearby. How'd she get this strong? The ancient, though half his arm was blown off, showed no sign of weakening. Gazing at Jiang Xi's defiant yet faintly scornful expression, the ancient exploded with rage. "Are you looking down on me? You damn monster." At that moment, Lan Shi below was shattered by this scene. What the hell is all this? How does each one get more insane than the last? Meanwhile, the zombie used the ancient's arm to sprint upward at breakneck speed, intent on facing him head-on. The ancient scoffed disdainfully. then opened several hatches on his arm. In an instant, countless small steel drones emerged from the hatches. This left Grand President and Bang President dumbfounded. Is this ancient technology? I feel like we're nothing but ants before it. Facing such obstacles, Jiang Xi's cold eyes showed resolve. In a flash, the obstructing steel drones were blasted to scraps. The last one was ripped in half by the zombie herself. Then, these drones, like unkillable cockroaches, under the ancient's control, swarmed toward the zombie in growing numbers. Seeing this, the zombie clenched her fists, her gaze brimming with killing intent. With one punch, the drones before her were reduced to rubble, and even the giant mech lost half its body. The ancient, far from angry, seemed thrilled. Still not enough to push you all out. You still underestimate me. If so, bring it on. He summoned 3 more giant mechs, 4 in total, boxing in the zombie. The presidents nearly leapt in fright. This is just too much. Yet the zombie gazed at. Meanwhile, the ancient's aura surged. The final night before dawn. This isn't your true form yet. He swung the giant's fist, slamming it toward the airborne zombie. Under shocked gazes, unable to dodge, she was sent flying. The shockwave, whipping up a Category 12 typhoon, flinging pedestrians and cars into the air. Elsewhere, the zombie crashed onto the moon, bouncing kilometers, before halting with a boom. Even so, her face showed contempt. At that moment, Grand President, fused with the ancient, said, "Look at this. Kill 1,000, lose 800. Do you really need to eliminate her?" But the ancient lost to reason. Yes, she must go. He teleported to the moon. She's pissed, really pissed. She hasn't harmed anyone, helped humans more than once. Yet he wants her gone. In rage, she shattered the moon, blasting the ancient to bits. Moments ago, sent to the moon by ancient tech. The tech followed, vowing to erase her. As he struck, she slipped through, charging the tech's head, leaping with a clenched fist, smashing its face. The mech's head was obliterated, toppling over. The ancient on Earth, seeing this, felt a ripple inside. The minister's voice emerged. She's not evil. Her city outshines ours, bringing taxes and growth. She's helped us. Why can't she stay? The ancient cut him off, gazing at the moon. We want peace. But look at her. Can we coexist? Zombies were weak. We could crush them. Then she appeared, our fate's in her hands. I won't allow it. He unleashed lightning energy, striking the moon. Non-humans must die. The shattered tech reassembled, evolving into a sword-wielding mech, radiating terror. Its righteous strike spawned sword-wielding clones, slashing at the zombie. The moon was pierced, and she was hit. The ancient smirked, unaware. Heat enraged her, her eyes icy. She said, "Power isn't about size." As he pondered, she snapped her fingers. The tech shattered. The moon quaked. Shockwaves hitting Earth. Presidents ordered. She appeared before him, punching him into the sea. Back on Earth, she prepared to flip the planet. Here it comes. Fourth form. Even the vampire queen hadn't seen this. A slight gesture shattered the ancient. Presidents evacuated citizens. Lan Shi, holding a baby, felt the ground crack. What's this? The zombie seized the crust. Shocking all, fissures widened. Grand President trembled. Last time he suffered most. With a boom, she split the crust. City divided. Blue star parted. Grand President, rattled, thought. Good thing she held back before. Lan Shi fell into the abyss. Bang President caught her. She gaped as seawater parted, revealing the zombie, punching the ancient. From Pacific to Antarctic, the ancient separated from the minister. This is her power. Should she stay? Seas roared. Her fourth form unveiled. She ruled all. The minister gaped. What is she? All were stunned. The vampire queen sweated. Lan Ling cried out. Ling froze. I didn't know she could do this. The revived minister looked at her, towering, icy. He understood. The ancients' fear. Not just humans. Even aliens would yield, atop a building. Presidents watched in awe. A figure sped toward her. Ling enhanced, seeing her. She reverted to her goofy first form, asking, "How's my bloodline power?" Ziling smiled. "Pretty impressive." The tension eased. A brief peace settled. But then, Dr. Jimming, the traitor, found the ancient's body, planning to revive him. Moments ago, she'd crushed the ancient. The minister fell to his wounds. But she snapped her fingers, reviving him. His body stronger. Presidents gawked. The vampire queen shivered. Lan Ling whimpered. Ziling marveled. "I never knew she could do that." The minister awoke, staring at her. Imposing, lethal. He grasped the ancient's dread. "What is she?" All were stunned. Even the queen doubted her nature. The ancient, unfazed, grew excited. This face. The one before dawn vanished. Xiaohei panicked. "She's crazy. The ancient's done." He fled. The ancient boasted. "Finally, you're mine. I'll crush you." She raised her hand. He flew back. Twisted into a knot. His soul torn out, shattering. He never understood her ease. The minister took a stray hit. Presidents wept. "He's dead." Xiaohei cried. "King, he can't die." She snapped. His genes rebuilt. Wound healing fast. Here it comes. After crushing the ancient, peace briefly reigned, but Dr. Jimming found the ancient's body, aiming to revive him. She just crushed him. The minister fell. She snapped again, reviving him stronger. Presidents stared. The queen sweated. Lan Ling cried. Ziling gaped. Didn't know she could do that. He awoke. Seeing her power, he understood the fear. Not just us. Aliens would bow. On a rooftop, presidents watched. A figure charged her. Ziling enhanced. She reverted to first form, asking, "How's my power?" Ziling nodded. "Amazing." Peace settled. But threats loomed. Dr. Jimming's scheme. She'd save the minister, making him tougher. All were floored. The queen trembled. Lan Ling wailed. Ziling stared. Never knew this. The minister faced her, mighty cold. He saw why. The ancient feared her, fear itself. Even aliens would kneel. Presidents gaped. From a rooftop, Ziling rushed her, still enhanced. She turned goofy. "How's my bloodline?" Ziling grinned. Insane. A figure approached. Ziling, still powered up. The zombie smiled, back to first form, asking, "How's my bloodline power?" Hearing this, Ziling released her bloodline power, but the next second, she started yelling at the zombie. "You jerk. You could have taken him out in one move. Why all the flashy nonsense? Now look. Our home's gone." Facing Ziling's accusations, the zombie said it was to avoid scaring others, and that was indeed the truth. The vampire queen, who'd planned to seek revenge, now hid. Bugan Lo Man after seeing the zombie's strength. After this massive battle, the southern continent shifted 130 kilometers, affecting global climate to some extent. It also indirectly formed Earth's deepest trench, but thanks to timely evacuations before the battle, humanity suffered little harm. However, all damages from the fight were fully handled by 2 months later, in the minister's office, the minister pored over the zombie's file, deep in thought, understanding why the ancient wanted her gone, and facing such terrifying power. He, as the new human minister, made a crucial decision. He called for Chengdu Cha, "Go to the market and buy some top-grade eggs. I'm visiting the new A10 Grand President." Meanwhile, on the other side, vampire butler Lan Ling grumbled, "I paid you to work. Not to slack off, move it." A girl nearby rolled her eyes. "Lan Ling, bro, where'd you get the money?" The question left Lan Ling speechless. At the same time, in Xiaohei's office, he watched Lan Ling with satisfaction. "The king said no fighting lately, so we loaned them money for projects, keeping them off my bank stash, with 20% interest. They'll work for us 300 years. At that, Ego and the others fell silent. What a ruthless capitalist. Some rejoiced, some despaired. Zhu Xiaohong sat alone in her room, never imagining the zombie could evolve further. Back then, her all-out effort only drew a fraction of the zombie's power. Now, facing a godlike zombie, the proud queen admitted she'd never beat her in this lifetime, shedding unwilling tears. Meanwhile, deep in a cave the minister once explored, Mushroom Head compared blueprints. "Minga, it's him." Before them lay the ancient's true body. Eyeing it, Dr. Jimming hatched a plan. "Zombie, even if I die, I won't give up. Here it comes." The zombie became humanity's grand president, shocking even the president. Her strength terrified everyone. To control this ticking bomb, humans reluctantly made her grand president. Long, long ago, She was just a weak, goofy zombie, knowing nothing but her name. Age unknown. Death date unknown. Just a hot summer day, reading in class. Bitten by a zombie that burst in. Since then, she mindlessly followed her kind, charging ahead. To avoid being turned into a perpetual motion machine, she quit human flesh, started training. Living on protein powder, she became invincible. From goofy first form, to human conquering second form. Then beating the Lion King and Vampire Queen in third form. Finally to universe ruling, fourth form. Tired of war despite winning, she chose peace, aiding humans, solving their troubles. Lion King, ancient, whatever. She worked to change human views on zombies, earning her own city. Yesterday she learned. Her absurd strength scared all, prompting desperate attempts to kill her. A doorbell rang. Opening it, Ziling stood there, still grumbling. What are you doing? A leader with no sense of time. We've waited 2 hours. She finished. The zombie slammed the door shut, leaving Ziling stunned outside. Moments later, at the Abnormal Humans Academy, Lan Shi stood solemnly at the podium. Another year begins. We've seen our students grow. We live in a dangerous era, full of gifts and challenges. This time, the zombie leads us to prosperity. Let's welcome our new Grand President. As she spoke, the zombie walked to the stage. Instantly, presidents below cheered, Grand President. In that moment, humans and zombies ushered in peace. As the new Grand President, she generously invited everyone to her city for eggs. The former Grand President and his crew, though unhappy, couldn't beat her. In the minister's office, Inspector Chen burst in, holding a phone nervously. Minister, we've got a call from the president. The minister froze, jumping from his chair. Chaos, chaos. Zilins moved into her house, wearing the maid outfit we all dreamed of. Even Lan Shi joined in. Seeing this, he felt thunderstruck. At the welcome ceremony, he got the president's call. Not praise, but accountability. They'd hidden the ancient's appearance to protect the zombie. But the commotion was too big to conceal. Snapping back, he asked Chun, where are the eggs I told you to buy? Chun held them awkwardly. They're in hot demand. This is all I got. The minister grabbed 2 bags, heading to the zombie's door. He rang the bell. Ziling peeked out. In a cat-maid outfit, holding cake, he blurted in shock. This outfit, are you living together? Ziling yelped. Minister, no. It's not what you think. But then Lan Shi appeared. Also in a maid outfit. His worldview shattered again. Just promoted. And you're this wild. Without me. I'll have to report this. He turned to leave. Something urgent at HQ. They stopped him. You've got it wrong. It's a promotion party. We lost a game. He groaned inwardly. A party like this? Ziling urged. Look inside. Xiao Xiao, also in a maid outfit. Played cards. Chinda boasted. I'll beat you this time. The zombie, losing, looked doomed. Fruit and veggies flew up. Sliced midair by steel blade president. He danced with sushi. Locking eyes with the minister. Minister, not what it looks like. Not my character. She made me. The minister coughed. We're meeting now. I've got something to discuss. Everyone paused. The party halted. He cleared his throat. Let's convene. Urgent matters await. He stepped forward, ready to lead. They scrambled. It's just a party. He sighed. Some celebration. Inside, chaos reigned. Cards, costumes, sushi. He shook his head. Unbelievable. Ziling pointed. See for yourself. Laughter echoed. The zombie grinned. Having fun yet? Chinda challenged her. She groaned. I'm losing bad. The room buzzed. A light-hearted mess. He stood there, half amused, half exasperated. This is nuts. Steel blade twirled. Join us. He blinked. Seriously? They laughed. Just a game. He sighed. Meeting time. They groaned. Now. He nodded. Big stuff to discuss.